Keep your eyes shut. The lights flicker, there's evil all around us. No one's safe from the nightmare. Cold sweat, so scared. Someone get me out of here. They say you better be afraid. The night's coming like fire from a hand grenade. There's no escaping tonight. It's coming alive.
It's Tuesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, around the world, around the nation, on the SLG Network, YouTube Live. This is Sports with Rich, as always. Good evening, everyone. Hope you had a good week. I'm Rich Mancuso, Sports with Rich. My young co-host, my colleague, my protege. There he is, the Wiz, Robert Rizzo. We'll get going within a second. 2 hours, maybe more, as always. A lot on the table tonight. Of course, the Subway Series in New York is taking center stage the next 2 nights. We've got Wally Mathews on the air a little bottom of the hour, esteemed New York sports journalist. And we'll talk a lot of WWE tonight. And I'm going to have Craig DeGeorge, another former colleague. Craig Marineri, that's his name. He is also the Miami Marlins pregame and postgame host on Fox down in Florida for Marlins games. And we're going to talk about Vince McMahon and the scandal, or whatever you want to call it, as Vince McMahon dominated the news the last week, finally retiring. And I have a lot of thoughts about that. My column on that is up right now on NewYorkSportsDay.com. Your questions and comments in the cube, as always. And as always, we want you to like, comment, and subscribe on the SLG Network, Sports with Rich, as well as on my YouTube channel, Rich Mancuso. I'm at Ring786 at Twitter, Facebook.com, Rich Mancuso, Mancuso76 on Instagram. We'll have it all repeated. And the Wiz is also on social media. He's a Twitter monkey. Where, Wiz?
Follow me on Twitter, RobertRiz994, Instagram, RRizzo4, and Facebook, Robert Rizzo. Catch all my articles on Latino sports. The energy is very intense in New York. We got Subway Series going on right now.
We're going to talk about it.
We'll talk about it. But
we got a lot
excited.
to talk about. It's going to be fast.
We had a busy weekend with Cooperstown. We'll get to it.
More to come, and a lot to come this week. I haven't slept much, and I know how your week was because I spent a lot of time with you the past few days. And to spend a lot of time with you the past few days reminds me of being Chucky. Only kidding, of course. I'm not sadistic, people. Like, comment, subscribe, your questions and comments in the cube, and let's get right to it. Sports with Rich is on the way. Here we go. And let's speak about the Hall of Fame induction ceremony up at Cooperstown, New York on Sunday. Very hot. A long ride getting on there on the Latino Sports Bus Escapade. Thanks, Julio Pobone, again, the founder of Latino Sports and Latino Sports Ventures. Overall, nice day. Too long, very hot. But worth it because you get to see the inductees among 35,000 other people on the lawn there in Cooperstown. And for the first time, the Wiz Robert Rizzo experienced it, and he covered it. I gave him my credential, and he got a nice pin, a souvenir, which, frankly, I don't need those things. Don't worry, I got so many of them. Oh, by the way, we'll have the fact of the week tonight. Got to give away the Aaron Judge bobblehead. Still haven't done it. I might give you that pin away instead of the Judge bobblehead. How do you like that? And, of course, Nobody Beats the Wiz will be coming up. But let's get to the Hall of Fame ceremonies, and let's take a look at this brief venture of me and the Wiz up at the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown on Sunday. Wiz, why did you take me here?
Huh?
Why did you take me here?
It's Baseball Hall of Fame. You gotta be here.
I can't deal
Big
with
Poppy,
this.
Big Poppy's getting inducted. You gotta be here for that.
I can't take this no more.
No, this is a hell of an opportunity. You gotta see
Too
Big
many
Poppy
people
up
here.
close.
Too many people. I can't take this. Get me out of here. And he did. I went under a tent and still caught some sunburn with a beach chair. But it was a nice day. It was a nice day, and it's always good to be at the Hall of Fame induction. You spoke to David Ortiz with a lot of the media afterwards. Tell us about it, Wiz.
Yeah, it was
Inducted.
a dream come true. Yeah,
Yep.
It was a dream come true for me. He was one of 7 guys inducted into the Hall of Fame. 35,000 showed up, like you said. It was a big crowd for Ortiz, a lot of Red Sox fans, and for the most part, a lot of Dominican Republic flags. So that's what we saw for the most part on Sunday. But he's the 4th Dominican player inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Pedro Martinez, Juan Marichal from 1983, and Vladimir Guerrero Sr. And Ortiz is 8th in MLB history with 1,192 extra base hits. He's one of the greatest DHs we've ever seen.
And I thought his speech was very, very to the heart. His family mentioned, Red Sox Nation mentioned, even his beginning days in baseball as a Minnesota Twin. He didn't forget where he came from. And, of course, what he does in the Dominican Republic. Now, I'm not a big fan of his. I don't like what he does on Fox and all that stuff, but I'm not going to take nothing away for the player he was and how he contributed so much to baseball over the years. And I congratulate him. He did a great speech. And you could see the emotion in his speech and on his face. And again, you had a better up close look at him than I did because I was still on the lawn. But now you were with all the dignitaries doing a nice job.
I was going to say,
and a great column, by the way, at LatinoSports.com.
Yeah, catch my article on Latino Sports about Big Papi. It was a special day for him because he had his daughter present the national anthem, open up the festivities on Sunday. And Pedro was there, all his former teammates, Dustin Pedroia, Jason Varitek, even A-Rod was there. So even the rivals that he's with on broadcast now, it was a hell of a day in Cooperstown. And
the only thing I don't like about it, and because it's such a hot day, one of the hottest of the year, and thank God the Lord was with everyone, and it didn't thunderstorm on us because the clouds were coming in, the wind was coming in, but as they say, the summer wind went away, whatever. But a great day for baseball and a great day for the Hall of Famers, including Gil Hodges, the late Mets manager, 1969 Miracle Mets. Finally, by a Veterans Committee, the Golden Age Committee, they call it now. They should put me in the Golden Age Committee. And my column on Hodges also on NewYorkSportsAid.com if you want to read about it.
And we mentioned it before about the crowd, the intensity, 35,000. We actually have a video off the bus of how it was.
Yeah, let's take a look at it. If John has it. There was a haven't been there in years. I'm going up there. So now let's move ahead. Look at next year. Who could possibly inducted? And I want to talk to Wally Mathews more about this later on because Wally does have a vote with the Baseball Writers America. I don't because I'm not a member of that so-called esteemed group. The Hall of Fame next year, you got some names. Who gets in? Who doesn't? Carlos Beltran. What do you think?
Ooh, not first year because everything that's gone on in the last 5 years with the
Houston I don't see him going in next year right away either because of the Stein stealing scandal. He was the main culprit as a player for the Astros during that 2017 year. Also, he does have the numbers though. Home runs, RBI, Gold Glove, whatever, but that may hold him back. If you don't put the steroid users in, McGuire, Sosa, A-Rod, and so forth, Bonds, and you're not gonna, Beltran won't get in because of that. But Jacoby Ellsbury, I don't think is a first shot time Hall of Famer up for induction. Jason Wirt, I don't see. Former pitcher. Francisco Rodriguez, he had the 1 year of 67 saves when he was with the Mariners, right? Or the Angels.
The Angels. K-Rod.
Yeah, K-Rod. So I don't know next year who might get in first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't know if there will be one, but this year the inductees were worthy of it. Congratulations again. It was a great day up in Cooperstown. All right, let's look at what's going on with current Major League Baseball stars around the league real quick. That Subway Series is going on tonight in New York. I dread it. I hate it. I hate covering it. Then I'm going to be here at Citi Field tomorrow night. Right now, the Mets are on the verge. Top of the eighth. It is 5-3. Mets are winning this one. Aaron Judge again. First inning. That first inning tonight, Subway Series, Aaron Judge is Major League leading 38th home run, and Pete Alonso surpassed him again with RBI. That first inning, how many home runs in that first inning tonight at Citi Field, Wiz?
There were 3 or 4 for first inning home runs tonight. Let me check.
That was, and in the Subway Series, you're always going to get something
4.
special. Yeah, and that first inning tonight at Citi Field was memorable. A memorable first inning in this annual Subway Series now. These teams play each other 4 times, 2 more times again in the Bronx, across the Triborough, the bridge, whatever they call it now in New York, at Yankee Stadium. And Judge Okoye, for his efforts during the week, continued. American League Player of the Week, 1.776 on-base percentage, a 474 batting average, 5 games with 4 home runs. He's on that pace for 62 or more, Wiz.
Yeah, for sure. Every night he's doing something on offense. We saw it tonight as well. Like you said, 474. He has 9 hits in his last 19 at-bats entering tonight. Home run
Phenomenal.
leader, 38 homers. The next guy in the category is Kyle Schwarber with 30. So it just speaks for how phenomenal Judge is.
And he's hitting it from the opposite field, too. And he did that tonight at Citi Field, a place where the Mets haven't learned how to hit the home run ball very much. Yankees by far still leading Major League Baseball in home runs, slugging percentage. Though they're in a little bit of a downfall. They haven't been winning at that big pace like they did. We saw that with the Houston Astros. We saw it the week before with the Cincinnati Reds before the break. We see them losing ball games, even one against the Orioles this week. Games that they were winning the first 3 months of the season. They're not this powerhouse team they were right now. There's got to be a concern. We'll talk about impending trades with the deadline looming. But also, Wiz, you see a different Yankee team. And a lot of it has to do with injuries, including this guy now goes on the injured list. Shocker today, Giancarlo Stanton, an Achilles heel problem.
Yeah, and he played in the All-Star game last Tuesday, hit a homer. I was saying I'm glad he didn't do the home run derby for that purpose, just avoiding injury, getting to October 100% healthy, and he landed on the IL today. It's a tough stint for the Yankees. They have a little injury bug going because, like you said, with Stan now and then Michael King last week, that was a tough fall for him.
Yeah, we'll talk about Michael King and again about Stanton and Judge hitting home runs for the team, leading the Yankees a big-time lead. Major League Baseball is a team in home runs, but these two have been on the field together a lot this season, the first time in 3-4 years since they've been together. But now we don't know how long Stanton will be out. A big major cog in the offense of the Yankees, even though he does still strike out a lot. Well, Judge does too, as I keep saying. Home run hitters. They hit a home run, they walk, or they strike out. But Stanton has been much better. Yeah.
And Stan, to be specific, his issues with the calf in the earlier part of the season, now the Achilles, it all leads with, it connects the two, so they got to be cautious with that going into September and October.
Michael King was a big story, a major loss for the Yankee bullpen. Now, all of a sudden, Yankees facing adversity out of that pen. Even Miguel Castro was injured. Chapman came in tonight. It looked good. Looked Chapman-like again against the Mets for an inning. They're also Loizaga. They got to get him back strong. Without Michael King, you got Clark Schmidt. You do have Clay Holmes, but that bridge to get to their closer now, Holmes, is a little tough without Michael King, who had been one of the, if not the premier reliever next to Edwin Diaz coming out of the pen for the New York Yankees.
Yeah, I was going to say he ranked up with the top relievers across the whole MLB. 34 appearances, he had a 2.29 ERA, 66 strikeouts in 51 innings pitched. So with that, Peralta and Clay Holmes, it was a dangerous trio, and the Yankees got to pull something off with the trade deadline looming.
Yeah, they're going to need bullpen help as long as the Mets. We'll talk about that in a moment. Like the Subway Series has a lot of interesting components to it this year. First time, both teams, I think since 2005, I think it was, both teams are 20 games over 500 going in. Yankees with the big lead in the AL East, the Mets still in first place. There is a rivalry, and it's showing tonight more. This year, more than ever, the hype and interest in this 4 games this year, more because the Mets are in first. The Yankees have been the dominated team. This guy, Francisco Lindor. Lindor is a key here. Had another good week, Wiz.
Yeah, well, 3 hits against the Padres. He slowed down a little, but we see it every inning on defense. He leads the charge, the infield, the outfield. That he's the leader on defense. And on offense, early run opportunities has been the struggle for the Mets the last 2 to 3 weeks. Marte got it going tonight with the home run. Escobar got another home run in the first inning. Alonso continues on the RBIs. So they just got to keep getting runners in scoring position and progress their way to Atlanta next week.
5 games with the Braves next week at Citi Field, including a doubleheader Saturday, could determine whether the Mets still have first place. I'm a little questionable about that. I keep getting into a little verbal wars with Met fans about that. We'll see what happens. A week from today, the trade deadline changes the complexion of a lot of teams. Pitching seems to be the thing teams are looking for that are trying to get deep into October or get there, including this guy, Luis Castillo, of the Reds, the right-hander. Vicious, good fastball, a sneaky curve. The most coveted guy, I think, right now on the trade market, especially when it comes to a pitcher, Wiz.
Yeah, his name's been linked in rumors since the offseason. This season, he has 13 starts, 2.77 ERA, 82 strikeouts, and just about 78 innings pitched. You saw him in the Bronx. What are your thoughts with him pitching against the Yankees, 2 weeks ago?
He shut the Yankees down for about 6 innings, 7 innings. He can go deep into a game. And if you could shut the Yankee offense down, I believe he shut him down to 2 hits till he came out of the game. When you can shut the Yankee offense down, that powerhouse of a team of an offense, Castillo did it. I think the Yankees can need him right now in the rotation. Prospects are the key here. The Reds are going to want some of their prospects, and even if the Mets wanted him or any other teams are looking to build up prospects for the future. Yankees and Mets have them. The Reds will, I hear through my sources, the Mets and Yankees are talking to the Reds. It's a matter of what team can offer the best package, and Castillo can help a team get what they want and get there till October.
Yeah, for
along
sure.
with Frankie Montez of the Athletics, another one who's on the market. Another big name you keep hearing. He's been injured, but he's looking strong again. And Wilson Contreras of the Cubs was hugging players today in the Cubs dugout, looking like he might be on the way out. You know, he would be a good pickup for the Mets. They need a catcher.
Yeah, big time. The Mets need a catcher, and Wilson Contreras is the most coveted pieces on the market right now. So going back to Montez, he has a 3.9 record, and when you look at that, you're like, why would I trade for him? You're thinking of the A's offense. There's no run support. They rank 29th and 30th in all offensive categories. So when you think of Montez, he has a 2.77 ERA. This guy's pitching dominant each and every outing when he's out there. He had a few injury bumps here and there, but he's back going in the last week or so.
Well, I would love to see the Mets, if you're a Met fan, get Contreras. They need help at catcher. You borrow him and then re-sign him. Steve Cohen has the money. Andrew Benintendi is another guy. The Royal, a guy like that, he's coveted. He's being asked about. Josh Bell is another one. And Troy Mancini of the Orioles. The Orioles will give him up. The Orioles will give him up if they get something good back in return, because the Orioles are not the lowly Orioles no more. They compete. They're in the hunt for a wild card, believe it or not.
Yeah, I think they'll be down to the wire in September. One of those teams like Seattle last year, where it came down to the last weekend of the season for them to get eliminated or eventually make the playoffs.
And then you're looking at the 2 most coveted names besides Castillo. You keep hearing about Ohtani. Will the Angels part with Ohtani? Teams want him. This two-way player, pitching, hitting, and a fantastic player he is. He ain't no Babe Ruth, but he's good enough. And he could help any team, even here in New York. There's talk the Yankees are looking into that also. There's a lot of talk 7 days away to that trade deadline, Wiz.
Yeah, for sure. With Ohtani being on the market, it would change the industry for sure. Even Soto, as we'll talk about in a little bit. But Ohtani, if Ohtani's war on pitching and offense, you're like, that contract is going to be such an issue and a hassle for whoever's the agent.
Scott Boras, what do you think?
Is it Ohtani?
No.
Ohtani's
I'm not
Boras?
sure. We'll question about someone in the could get us a reminder about that. But let's talk about Juan Soto. This is the name. So many rumors, so much talk. He's looking for this $400 million contract. He's still under team control with the Nationals. The Nationals are willing to trade him. I believe he will get traded before August 2nd or at deadline time. The question is, what do the Nationals get back, and where does Soto go? He'd be a perfect fit in either the Mets or Yankees lineup right now. And obviously the Dodgers, teams that have the money to pay him, are going to want to keep him. And they're going to want to get him, and he could make any team that much better.
For sure. Every team will be much better with Juan Soto in their lineup, but there's been 7 or 8 teams linked to him in the last week or so. Cardinals, Padres, Dodgers, Mets, Yankees, as you said before. But Soto right now, he has 79 walks in Major League Baseball. That's about like 24 of
Makes
a league
contact.
difference.
He hardly
Yeah.
strikes out, walks, gets on base with a hit. My time right now, very, very much could be the best player in the game right now. The thing is, he plays for the lowly Nationals. That's why. But the Nationals were dealing to part with him. They want to rebuild. So that's the guy. Next week at this time, we'll know more where Juan Soto is. How about a Red Sox Blue Jays game, which a football score? We got that box score. Put it up real quick. 28-5. We were in the press box at Citi Field wondering, we wanted to see 30.
Yeah, I thought it was a Sunday when on the football app, honestly. 28-5 looks like a football score, safety and a field goal right there.
Very rare did you see that, and they almost needed on a Major League record 30 runs in a ball game. All right, other news coming out of MLB, Nick Castellanos, shame on him, boo of the week, against the Cubs. A reporter asked him at Citizens Bank Park, he was getting the boos, and what did the reporter say from Philadelphia? Forgot the reporter's name, but what did he say, Wiz?
He said, "Did you hear the boos when you're up to bat?" And
what did he say?
Castellanos said, "No, I didn't hear it. I'm deaf." Something like that.
He didn't have to answer that way. Then again, players do get contentious that way. I've had that come at me.
Joke of a question. Something like that, joke of a question along those lines.
And what I didn't like is that this fellow scribe challenged him again. Knock it off. You're going to get an answer like that from a ball player, walk away, keep your mouth shut, because the other reporters in that media scrum, they suffer. They can't talk to him now. So, I don't give either one the right. Castellanos needed to be more professional. The reporter needed to walk away. The Phillies still have problems. They're going to be one of the teams, though, they feel they're still in the hunt for pitching and maybe in another bat, but they're going to get stronger. I think some of their pitching is going to come back to strength soon. So we'll keep an eye on the Phillies in the NL East.
Yeah, and Aaron Nola has been leading the charge. I think he's second in the league with innings pitched behind Sandy Alcantara.
Now, all-star ratings for the Major League Baseball game last week, the lowest last year, lower than last year. I think 7.5 million viewers, which was their lowest in years. In fact, they say it was a record lower decline. I don't know why. This used to be the premier all-star event in all sports, but it isn't no more. People aren't watching it. Maybe too much entertainment. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a tough sell, honestly, but I like the entertainment side of it with the mic'd ups. We talked about it during the All-Star Game special. You can catch that on the podcast, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, everywhere where you go. Just search SLG Network.
Also, with no international draft with baseball, the deadline passed for the first time. There'll be qualifying offers in place, which means it's a negative effect on the market for the best players. This is a stipulation. This was something that was holding up the bargaining process that caused a lockout with Major League Baseball and the owners back in March, caused a delay of the season. So that's a continuing issue with MLB and the ownership and the commissioner. They have to straighten it out. The international draft is so important, too, because a lot of players are coming from all over now to play Major League Baseball here in the States. We'll keep an eye on that. And how about the power rankings for the week? Very interesting what we have now. Let's put that up, John. Power rankings. We got the Dodgers. I don't know. This is how I look at it. I've got the Dodgers there first, the Yankees second, and then I'm looking at the Atlanta Braves, Houston Astros, then the Mets. That's how I look at it. The power rankings brought to you by us, all subject to debate.
I think it will go back and forth with the Atlanta and New York, as we've been saying. New York's been what? Let's see right here. They were 2-. Well, they won. They lost the series against San Diego, and we saw it on offense. That's why they were struggling with early
Mets scored
runs.
No runs, and then in the finale they came alive like they are tonight with the Yankees. This Mets team is still, to me, very difficult to understand, and they are going to be active at the deadline. They need bullpen help and another bat. Vogelbach is not the answer for their DH. To me, he fills the void a little bit better than JD and Dom Smith, who's on the injured list. But Mets sure are going to be active in the trade market before the deadline. And the Rays are going to be looking because they lost 2 key players today. It was announced Kelmeyer, a great defensive outfielder in center field for them, and a catcher, Mike Zumino. They're out for the year with season-ending injuries. Hurts their offense, but the Rays are a team down there in Tampa that can open up a refrigerator and get one player after another.
Yeah, every year it's something. A new rookie comes up out of the ordinary. A trade happens. So we've been saying it for a while. If the Rays front office calls you, hang up the phone and advance that kid up to the pros.
They are not going to be the division winner this year, but they're in the hunt for the wild card. It's expanded. We all know that. 3 teams. The Rays are in that hunt. They could very well end up there, but they got to be healthy to do it. And they're missing some key parts in their lineup now, and their pitching is still young and strong. Also, they have sustained a few injuries there. And how about this, Wiz? You're going to like this. Because the New York Mets today announced that out in right field at that Coca-Cola sign, in the Coca-Cola area, they're going to be a food wagon or something. Or what are they adding to it? Your favorite?
A food truck of bagels.
And your favorite? Bacon and cheese?
Egg sandwiches. That's perfect.
Yeah, that's the only thing he eats. That's the only thing he eats. Before we went up to Cooperstown on Sunday morning, 5:30 in the morning, I got to have my egg and cheese sandwich. That's what he does. Egg and cheese, burgers and pizza, and he's in good shape. Go figure it out at his age.
Energy going.
Well, I know you'll be at Citi Field again soon, and when you're there, that's your first trip. I know where you're going. I know that.
Get there.
All right, we'll have more baseball coming up on the program. Your comments in the cube. Like, comment, and subscribe to the SLG Network. Rich Mancuso Sports with Rich here on the SLG Network as we do it every week. Just a second, my fact of the week fell. Hold on. That means no one gets the answer again with the Aaron Judge bobblehead. We'll open it up, then take a break. John will give us a brief update. Come back. Wally Mathews, an esteemed and longtime colleague of mine, with a lot to fill in about baseball and pro boxing. A fact of the week. Here you go, guys. It's about baseball and diversity. We knew 75% of All-Stars were of Latino descent this year in the All-Star game this Tuesday night. A great game, too. It was a good game because we were on the air talking about it. But there was a year, look at this, a year in baseball where all 9 players in this team's lineup were either black or Latino descent. A year in baseball with this team, that's the fact that we're looking at, where all 9 players in this team's lineup that year were of black or Latino descent. I don't know if you're going to get it. If you do, let us know. Comment and question in the cube. We'll give you the answer later. That Aaron Judge bobblehead is still up for grab. Want to take a quick shot at it, Wiz?
Ooh. Yeah, I feel like it's recently. I'll take a shot right now and then I'll guess later. 2013.
No.
No.
You're
I feel
wrong.
like it was recently.
All right, John, let's bring you in before we get to your first update and quick break. You have an answer, John? Can you get the fact of the week?
John,
you're sleeping at the wheel. I was looking for the
No.
graphic. I didn't see the fact of the week graphic come up.
I did. I got a little discombobulated there for a second.
I know you did because that fact of the week graphic got to go up or it's not a fact of the week.
My guess is
yeah.
I'm going to say 2009.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong. And people want to look it up. Look it up. One more.
I'll take another shot at the end of the show. Let the viewers think about
we'll
it.
Keep it up and open. Like, comment, subscribe to the SLG Network Sports with Rich. Also, YouTube, my channel, Rich Mancuso. If you have the answer, the cube is open. Comment and give us the answer about that. I'm not going to give you the answer at the end because the Aaron Judge bobblehead, it's going to stay with me. Nobody seems to get it. All right, John, quick sports update. Real quick, we'll take the break, and then we'll get Wally Mathews on with us here at Sports with Rich coming up next. Take it away, John.
Thanks, guys. Over in Citi Field right now, the New York Mets are defeating the New York Yankees by the score of 6-3. They're in the top of the ninth. The Guardians are defeating the Red Sox by the score of 8-3. They're in the bottom of the ninth. Padres are currently defeating the Tigers. They're up 4-3. Top of the 10th. Bases are loaded right now. The Angels right now are up 5-0 over the Royals. Again, bases are loaded. Twins and Brewers are tied 6-6. White Sox are winning 1-0. The Astros just started their 0-0, middle of the third. Diamondbacks are 2-0. Washington's up 2-1 over the Dodgers are out in LA. The game just got started. Mariners also got started. They're up 1-0, bottom of the first. And the Cubs won today. The Marlins won today. The Orioles won today. The Braves won today. Blue Jays won today. So that was your quick sports roundup. We'll be right back. The guys will be right back with Wally Mathews right here in the SLG Network. We'll be right back after this.
What's good, everybody? My name is Caleb from the Bayou City Boys over here on the SLG Network. Happy to announce that we are now working with Dano's Seasoning. So if you're anything like me, you meal prep all the time, Dano's is the way to go, man. They got multiple flavors. Hit them up. Be sure to use our code SLG Network. Appreciate every single one of y'all. Peace.
Spending money like it's nothing. I don't have a budget. Please don't get offended when you see the kids stunting. Got my queens with me, but it ain't no Scarborough bluffing. See, I'm riding solo while dependent bitches cuffing. I got all I need, me, myself, and I just love it. I've been gone.
Sports with Rich live. SLG Network. Like, comment, and subscribe. Also my YouTube channel, Rich Mancuso. Once again, that's the Wiz, Robert Rizzo. We're here, midnight or a little past. We're going to keep it in the ring now a little early. A lot of that coming up in the next half hour. We'll talk a little more boxing into the Vince McMahon and keep it in the ring wrestling stuff. Right now, more baseball talk and boxing talk with an esteemed longtime colleague of mine, well-known in New York circles. And he's doing what we're doing. We're monitoring the Mets Yankees.
I'm watching the end of the game right here, man.
That's Wallace Matthews, my friend.
You know, don't bother me for another 10 minutes or so. I just want to see the end of this.
No, well, you know what? Yeah, well, you know, you covered enough of these Subway Series games over the years with me in the press boxes, and they're long and drawn out. You still into this?
Yeah, I am. You know, I was thinking today, I cannot believe that it's 25 years, and I know you were there for the first regular season game between the Mets and Yankees with Dave Malicki, and I was writing for the Post at the time, and Greg Gallo, who was the editor there, was a little crazy, and he said to me, I have a great idea for you. I want you to get on the ferry, because in those days they used to run a ferry from Wall Street up the East River to Yankee Stadium. And he said, in his mind, he thought Yankee and Met fans were going to have a brawl on the ferry and throw each other off into the river. So, like an idiot, I went along and I got on this goddamn ferry. And nothing happened. Everybody just got along great. There was no story whatsoever. And I wound up having to cover the game, which was a pretty good one, as you recall. The guy pitched a shutout. Pretty much unknown guy, Dave Malicki, shut out the Yankees. It was a pretty amazing game.
Yeah, well, they've been interesting ball games over the years, and this year there is a little more interest because both teams are 20 games over 500. They haven't had that in a while, and both are in first place, and there's that rivalry even got more intense with the fans. So, but you know how I feel. I don't like it. I never did, never will. It's a certain madhouse. That's why I stayed away from there tonight. And though it does have interesting storylines all the time for us to write and talk about, it's Mets Yankees. You know, it brings back years ago when we had three teams in this den, New York: Dodgers, Yankees, and Dodgers, Yankees, and Giants. You know, when fans had a choice where they wanted to go across the bridge and this and that. But this is Mets Yankees. I mean, it's bragging rights for New York baseball.
And I was gonna say, first off, thank you for joining us, Wally. We appreciate it. And
My pleasure. For my boy Rich, anything.
And you were saying you covered multiple Subway Series throughout the years, and specifically the 2000 Subway Series, the World Series. I got to ask you, what was that intensity like in the stadium each game? I know it was an early series that ended in 5, but what was the intensity like?
But don't forget, we had the dramatic moment with Clemens and Piazza, which almost got me beat up by Todd Pratt on the off day. Because, I mean, honestly, watching that game, I was really shocked by how passive the Mets were, and allowing Clemens to get away with that. I mean, if I was on that team, I would have rushed the mound immediately and come to Piazza's defense. I mean, I understand Piazza's reasoning, although I think he should have gone after him as well. But he doesn't want to get thrown out of a World Series game. Okay, fine. Best bet in your lineup. You don't want to lose him. But somebody should have gone out there. And that was the column I wrote for the Post.
I remember.
And, the next day, Todd Pratt took it personally. I guess, if the shoe fits, wear it. He was a big dude. He's like 240 pounds. He had nipple rings. He was completely nuts. If anybody's going to go out there and, twist Roger Clemens' arms off, he would have been the guy. I never mentioned him in the column, but for some reason he thought it was directed at him. So we had a couple of words the next day, but we wound up being okay. We were friends. The real turning point of the game, obviously, and you know what it is. It's Derek Jeter hitting the home run on the first pitch of Game 4, right? I mean,
we're going to get to that. Yeah,
that's it.
Right. Hold that thought, Wally, real quick, because you're talking about Clemens and Piazza, and today, or last night, Joe Torre comes out with this statement and says that Clemens cried after all of that in the clubhouse, and he saw it all unfold. Do you buy that?
If Torre says it, I believe it. I've loved Joe. I think he's a great guy. From what I know of Clemens, and I can't say I know him really well because he really didn't allow anybody to get to know him all that well. I don't see it, but if Torre says it happened, I'm going to believe it. Why he cried, I have no idea. Why? Because he didn't hit him with the bat? Because he missed? Is that why he cried?
Frankly, to me, I thought it was steroid rage. That's what I thought.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
No, but don't forget, he thought he was throwing the ball. That was the original excuse. But he was throwing the ball at the runner. What, were we playing dodgeball? I mean, I was just going to throw the ball to the first
years later, I still, who knows? Wally Mathews, my esteemed longtime colleague in New York, who's done the circuit.
I hate that word esteemed, man. It means old.
Well, they call me a legend. That means old too.
That means almost dead.
We're both in that bracket. Let's face it. We're the old school journalists.
We're old and dead. You got it.
Yeah. No, I don't know. We're not dead yet, but we're when it comes to the business. Hey, go look. You see this guy hosting a show with me? All right. He lives out your way on the island.
I think the shirt is older than him, but that's okay.
And it's 22
where do you live, man?
I live in Glen Cove, right near you.
Like 5 minutes from me, man. I'm in Oyster Bay.
So good. The two of you could meet on the
No,
boardwalk.
we'll shoot pool together.
There we go. Talking baseball.
Yeah.
Let's shoot pool. Let's not talk baseball.
He comes into this business. He's the young guy. This is what they want. They don't want us dinosaurs no more.
I was that guy. I was that guy a long time ago.
I know. That's how we – remember how we first met before we jumped the topic? You remember how we first met?
Probably at the Felt Forum at some boxing match.
No, we met at Long Island. We met at LRU CW Post. It's a basketball game, fighting for a phone at courtside.
And I got into a little tiff. I do have a tendency to get into these things.
Well, you didn't with me though, because you didn't know what you were dealing with.
No, it was with another
The
guy.
late Bernie Beglane. Yeah, I know. That's in the past. Ever since then, we became such great friends, and we still are. 40 years later, 35, whatever it is. Wally, let's move on to more about the Yankees and Mets. I know you're not on the beat no more, but you still follow this stuff. What do you make of what's gone on first half of the season with these two teams?
Well, first of all, I always felt, and please don't take this the wrong way, I always felt the Mets benefited greatly by the division. I was never completely convinced by the Mets. And I'm still not. I mean, now the Braves are breathing down their necks, and there's really nobody else in the division putting any pressure on them. I think that really helped them run off to a lead. The Yankees, I was much more convinced by, but what's happening now, and I know they still have a very healthy lead, shows you why the baseball season is so great. Because you know what? Guys run off in April and May, and they come back to the field by August. So it'll be really interesting to see what both teams do with the deadline because, I mean, we know how the game is played now. The team that you take out of spring training is not the team you take into the playoffs. A lot of times it's completely different.
And speaking of the Yankees, Judge is leading the way. He had 38 homers on the season. He hit one tonight. Do you think he can keep this pace on the contract year to win the MVP?
Well, first of all, how amazing is it that this guy really took a gamble on himself this year? He really did. You know, he turns down a huge package and says, you know, the hell with that. Let me go out and show you what I can do, and then we'll talk. And then he goes out and does what he's doing right now. I mean, look, the question is, does he stay healthy? Because that has been a problem for him. If he's healthy, I don't see any reason why not. I mean, this guy has really, and you know, I've covered him, and Rich did from the beginning when he was a rookie, and when he first came up out of you know, they brought him to Major League camp one year, and he wasn't quite there yet. He struck out a lot, chased a lot of pitches. This guy's developed into one of probably the 5 best hitters in Major League Baseball now. I mean, he's amazing now, and he's also a terrific fielder. I mean, the guy plays center field now, 6'7" guy, you know, out there patrolling center field like he's, you know, I won't say he's like Willie Mays, but he's pretty damn good. But the other thing that you haven't mentioned that might change the calculus for the Yankees when we get to the deadline is Stanton's injury. Right, because I'm not going to compare myself to Giancarlo Stanton, but I've had Achilles tendonitis, you know, because I run every day, and it can last a long time, and it's super painful. I don't know, you know, how serious his is, but I know that when I had it, I couldn't run for 6 months. I had to go to physical therapy. I had to do all kinds of things. I'm not saying this, you know, to alarm Yankee fans, but he could be out for a while, and that changes everything you're looking for next week, right? Because now you got to replace that bat.
Yeah, they pulled
There's
up
a lot of
Castro in the last few days from the minors.
Does that make the Yankees' pursuit, you think? I mean, come on. I know you still.
Soto? You're going to say Soto. Say the magic word. Go ahead. Say the S word.
Juan Soto, Juan Soto, Juan Soto. That's everybody talks about. Juan Soto. Juan Soto, Juan Soto.
I don't know. I mean, I listen. I hate to say this because I hate when people say, what would George do? But if George was alive, yes, they would pursue him all the way.
And you knew him real well. I mean, if anyone knew George, you did.
I knew him a little bit. I knew him like everybody else. You know, when he wanted to say something, when he wanted to talk to me, he talked to me. When he didn't, he didn't. You know, that's the way it is. No, what I was going to say that I think the Yankees have a much better chance to get Soto than the Mets because I can't imagine, you know, him being traded within the division. That would be insane. You know, it's just not something that's done. But I mean, what would it cost to get Juan Soto?
Exactly, prospects, and I don't think they want to part with
and the
those
Yankees
guys.
are terrible. The Yankees hate to get rid. The only time they get rid of prospects is when they know that they're not going to pan out.
And the haul for Soto is going to be the biggest the league has ever seen in its history. And going back to it, you've seen it from the jump with the Yankees covering it on the beat. What is the main difference between George Steinbrenner and his son doing the team now in the following 2-3 decades?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, Hal is not George. Hal is not Hank. You know, the late Hank Steinbrenner was kind of George Jr. He was impulsive. I loved him. He was a great guy, but he was an impulsive guy. He was a guy that that I think had he taken over the team rather than Hal, would have been more like George, would have spent impulsively, probably would have made a lot of bad decisions, would have made a couple of good decisions as well. Hal's a lot more analytical. I don't think Hal particularly wanted to be the owner in the beginning. I think he was very reluctant. I mean, I had a long talk with him when I was at ESPN in 2015 or 16, and he admitted it. This is not what he wanted to do. I mean, you know, this guy wanted to be a commercial airline pilot. That was his real dream as a kid. You know, he said he's an aircraft nerd, and then he went into finance. He's basically a finance guy. So he looks at the bottom line. But, I mean, I tweeted it tonight. You might have seen it. Anybody that says Hal Steinbrenner is cheap is idiotic. I mean, just look at the pay and what they pay.
Right.
It's just stupid. But because he's not willing to just throw money after, you know, whatever the flavor of the month is, the way George was, people think, you know, he's cheap, he's this, he's that, he doesn't want to win. I don't think that's true. I think he does want to win, but I think he's much more analytical than George was, obviously. And I think that sometimes he holds his cards a little bit too long. You know, I think he thinks and thinks and thinks, and then before you know it, the deal is gone. You know, somebody else grabs the guy. And I think that's because he's analytical. Now, I don't think he wants it on his legacy that, you know, on his watch, the Yankees have not won a World Series. You know, now we're going on 13 years.
13 years.
You know? And you know, for a lot of franchises, a lot of fan bases, they'd be thrilled to win one World Series every 13 years. They'd be absolutely overjoyed. But that's not what we're dealing with here. We know that. So anybody who thinks he doesn't want to win, he's happy just to fill the ballpark and make money, I think that's complete BS. I think at this point now he's all in. He's been the owner of this team for 13 years. The family's not selling. We heard rumors of it a couple of years ago. They're going to dump the team and get $5 billion and they're all going to retire. They don't want to do that. They're holding on to the team because it's George's legacy and because there's something important about owning the New York Yankees. And I think let's not forget the Steinbrenner family. I know you're too young to know this, Rob, but when they took the team from CBS, the Yankees were in the toilet. They stunk. The franchise meant nothing. He bought it for $8 million, which was $5 million less than CBS had paid for it. He got it at like a markdown sale. And now they're the richest franchise in sports, right? Probably, one of the top three. I think the Steinbrenners are proud of that. I don't think they're going to give it up. And I think at this point, Hal is like, I'm in this now. I am now the owner of the New York Yankees, and I want to make my mark. So I expect them to do something significant, in the next week or so.
Well, Brian Cashman always does to improve the team one way or the other. Look, he found Matt Carpenter like he was sitting on his couch.
Yeah, look, Steinbrenner's made some bad moves, all right? Cashman's made some bad moves. Ellsbury was not great. There are other guys that have not worked out. Obviously Joey Gallo's not working out that well, but he's also made some terrific pulls. I think Donaldson, and I think you and I had this conversation at the beginning of the season. I thought Donaldson was going to be a good pickup for them. He hasn't really been that, but I do think Cashman has a knack for finding guys, and especially at the trade deadline. So,
well, there's no doubt about it.
And let's not forget, Cashman's. He's been GM longer than anybody in the history of the Yankees, with the exception of...
There's got to be a reason, loyalty or success.
Also, the fact that George isn't here anymore.
Yeah. Is this Yankee team as good as the 98 team they're comparing them to? And what do you think I don't think they're going to win 110 games right now. You could see a difference from the first half.
At the end of May, I thought this team has a chance to win, 115 games, But now, no. But this is the beauty of the season. As I said, it comes back after a while. You come back to the field. You can't keep up that pace. I mean, that 98 team was, truly extraordinary. Extraordinary because they were able to keep that pace. And if you recall, they slumped at the very end of the season.
Yeah,
they slumped in the playoffs. And then, we thought maybe, oh, my God, how's this going to end? If you win 114 games and then you don't get out of the ALCS, obviously they pulled it together and they were able to win and sweep that World Series. But, it's hard to keep up that pace. It really is.
We got a question in the cube. Is that Mike Vicencio, Wiz? Your video's better than mine.
Yeah, Mike Vicencio. Sorry. He asked, is Judge going to be a Dodger next year?
If I knew the answer to questions like this, I'd be a very, very rich man. I think Judge wants to be a Yankee. I really do. It doesn't mean he will be. I mean, look, when it comes down to the bottom line, it's a business, right? I mean, when I started my career, Rich knows this, I worked at Newsday. I was there for 11 years. I loved it. I would have gladly worked there for 50 years. But at one point, the New York Post came to me with more money than Newsday wanted to pay me. So, yes, I love you guys. You're my family, but I got to go here. So, I mean, I'm sure Judge feels the same way about the Yankees. They're his family, but if another family comes along and wants to pay you $1 more, it is a business, and you got to go.
Yeah,
so
that's what it is.
I don't know. I'm sure the Dodgers will be in play for him. I mean, what a perfect landing spot for a guy like that. But
if you're going to look at the Yankees are going to pursue Soto and pay him a lot of money, they can't give Judge the same type of
that
deal.
That also changes, right? That changes the calculus.
I mean, there's a lot involved with that. Wally Mathews, our guest on Sports with Rich now, and I'm going to say it again, my esteemed longtime colleague.
Legendary.
You are a legend.
You say the word veteran, I'm coming through the screen at you.
No, you're not a veteran. We're veterans. We're veteran dinosaurs. But Derek Jeter is big news right now with the ESPN documentary. It's a great 7-part series, and you're a part of that. You covered Jeter a good part of your career. I know you had a good rapport with him, better than I did. And you're a part of that documentary. Tell us about that. How did that come about? And your thoughts on it.
Well, it came about, my participation came about because I had worked with the director, Randy Wilkins. He had done 30 for 30 on Roy Jones in the 1988 Olympics, which I was the first man to talk to him in the ring because I was working for NBC at the time. So he just called and said, "Would you want to be involved in this?" And I said, absolutely. I have to be perfectly honest with you. I haven't watched any of it yet. Okay. I'm going to catch up on all of it. It's all DVR'd. It's there. I have the first two. I got the rest of them scheduled.
Oh, I've watched a little bit of it, the first two, and I got to say, as always, phenomenal job. And you're better on camera than I am too. So, But
How do I look in my living room?
You're better than mine. Wally, the thing is with Derek Jeter, you always used to capture him well. Tell us about Derek Jeter. I mean, he's one of the prominent New York athlete, if not all of sports for years here in New York.
It's funny you say that.
What was it about him? What was it?
Well,
what made his
I'll tell you
persona?
what. I mean, I met him in his first spring training, so I knew him his entire career. But I never felt like I really knew him because he always kept you at arm's length. Yes, I was friendly with him. I was one of the few guys he didn't call buddy. He actually knew my name. There were only a couple of us whose names he actually knew.
Exactly.
But still, I didn't feel like I really knew him. I go over to every day. We did the same thing. I'd walk in and I would say Derek Jeter, and he would say Wally Mathews, and we just walk past each other, and that was it. I mean, he was friendly, he was professional, but he was somewhat standoffish, a little bit aloof. Over the years, I learned little things about him. I mean, obviously, we knew he loved Michigan basketball. We knew he loved trying to think of what else did he really like. I mean, I used to try to joke around with him about his girlfriends. He never thought it was funny. He always would blow it off right away.
No, because he kept his life private.
Yeah, but even just hanging out, I'm not going to go write this. I'm just BSing with you, bro, and he was not into that. He would BS a little bit about certain things. He liked boxing a little bit. He had a nice collection of Muhammad Ali T-shirts, which and he had never gotten to meet him. So we talked about that a bit. I told him, what I knew about
that. That's always a good way, Wiz. Wally and I always used to get the ball players, and the way to get to them, we talk boxing first.
And a guy that may not be here much longer, Dom Smith, big boxing guy.
Yeah, big boxing guy. I got him to the fights a few times.
I know you did.
I'll talk boxing with all the ball players now.
Yeah, we're going to talk
definitely.
We're going to switch.
When Pacquiao and Mayweather were going to fight, I went around the Yankee clubhouse and got everybody's prediction.
Yeah, they love that. They love talking about. They're big boxing buffs. I know. Yep. So that made our job
had an opinion.
Yeah.
Except for the third baseman, he had an opinion, but he thought Floyd's name.
Yeah,
was
he had an opinion for everything. Yeah. Speaking of that, you covered both of them at the same time. When they were on the same team. A-Rod Jeter. And in the documentary, I think to preview in advance, I read something about the feud between the two of them. How real was that? Did you see anything you could tell us? How real? Were they friends? Were they adversaries? Was there competition? How was that with
I could tell you this.
And Jeter?
I never saw evidence of the feud. Look, we all know that there was problems, all right, from the Esquire story. I mean, that was not a secret. These are two guys who were very close. I don't know how close they were, but were at least friendly at the beginning of their careers when they played for different teams. Then Alex, makes his remarks about Derek never had to carry a team, blah, blah, blah. He's always, kind of a role player. It was definitely a diss. And Derek is the kind of guy who, he's kind of like us, Rich. I kind of think he might be part Sicilian. Once you cross him, he don't want to know you, man. So that from what I could glean, that was the problem there. But I never saw any friction between the two of them in the clubhouse. Jeter's too professional for that. But I will tell you this. There was probably half a dozen occasions when Alex would ask me about Derek. How do you get along with Derek? Who do you like talking to better, me or Derek? It was clear that Derek was in his head, and that he was, I wouldn't say in competition with Derek, but he was always trying to measure up to Derek or trying to figure out if he did measure up to Derek. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt. I don't know if you guys disagree with me. Alex is a better player. Alex is a better ball player than Derek Jeter.
Well, when he wasn't
But-
on the juice.
Oh,
Yeah.
Understood. Well, even especially when he was on the juice.
Yeah.
But I mean, don't forget the thing that Derek had that Alex didn't have were the 4 rings. He had the
Right.
4 rings. That's why Alex had to had to get one with the Yankees to feel like he started to make some kind of inroads. But I don't think he ever felt like he didn't get the affection of the fans that Derek had. Right. I mean, at the end, I think the Yankee fans started to come around to him a bit, especially in his last years. He had a pretty good year. I don't think he ever felt like the fan base accepted him as a true Yankee. I think the front office, his relationship with the front office wasn't good. Neither was Derek's at the very end, but it was
Right.
good for most of his career. So I think in a lot of ways, Alex, even though he was the better player, felt like he didn't quite measure up to Derek. And he was always
Exactly.
testing the water to see what you thought about him versus Derek.
And
Yeah, but
speaking of-
A-Rod was 1 second. A-Rod was, especially with me, never get to know you. You know how he got to know me? I told you this story. He shoved me in the clubhouse in the scrum.
He
In the
shoved
media
you?
scrum. Yeah, to get through. And I said to him, "Excuse me, here's a Bronx boy. He's shoving me." And then he sits with me in the dugout. I'm on the field, minding my own business, sitting in the Yankee dugout when we were allowed to at the time. And all of a sudden, he comes off the field, sits at the end of the dugout where I was, pats me on my, his hand pat on my lap, and goes, just looks at me. He didn't know my name. He looked at my media pass. He's going to say, "Rich, let me ask you a question." I said, "What the hell is he asking me for? Do you like your job?" I said, "Yeah, I love it." "Do you like your job?" He said, "I love it." And he walked off the field and went back to the batting cage. That's how I remember. I figured that out.
But you know what? You know why he did that? This was after he shoved you?
Yeah.
This was after.
Yes.
Alex really needs to be liked. He really does. And he was trying to let you know, he was trying to apologize to you in some way.
That's what I
he was doing.
figured. Yeah.
Without a doubt, man.
That's
he
what-
wanted you to know,
yeah.
hey, man, I didn't mean that. Everything's cool,
Yeah.
Now, he
I
asked me
thought
some
about
weird
that.
questions too. He once asked me how long I was married and how I was able to stay married.
Wow.
And now we know famously he's divorced and he's gone through.
Yeah, well, we know everything. Yeah.
But I got the feeling that he really, he wanted to be married. He wished that he was still married. I don't know if he wished he was still married to her, but he wanted to still be married.
Speaking of A-Rod and all the other guys, Mark McGwire, Barry Bonds, the steroid guys, what are your thoughts on these guys not being able and literally never getting voted into the Hall of Fame?
I'm old school. I can't vote for steroid guys, and this is why I gave up my Hall of Fame vote. And Rich knows this because we wrote for the same paper for a while. If I can't trust the numbers, I can't vote for you. I mean, the Hall of Fame is based on numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if I can't trust that the numbers are real, I mean, do you think I liked? And I'm going to use past tense because I'm not voting anymore. But you think I liked sitting down and not voting for the guy with the most home runs in history, the guy with the most strikeouts in history, the guy with, obviously I didn't get a chance to vote for the guy with the most hits because he's out. That's Pete Rose, of course. I didn't like not being able to vote for those guys. But to me, if you're cheating, I can't vote for you. And the fact that I was unable to determine who was cheating and who wasn't. I mean, there were guys I knew were cheating, but who knows, and please, I'm not accusing anyone, but who knows if Mike Piazza took steroids. All right? You don't know. But he never failed the test. Never failed the test. Who knows if Craig Biggio took steroids? Who knows if Jeter did? Jeter had one season where he hit like
we have no
26 home
idea.
runs.
We know a lot of them
that one
did.
would
We
shock
just don't
me.
know
That
who.
one would shock me.
Yeah.
I mean, if it came out that Jeter did, I would be shocked. You know who would really shock me more than Jeter? Mariano. That would be the one that would tell me, you know what, everybody's on it. And,
By the way,
can't trust
Wally, not a nice guy. I never could warm up to him. And still to this day.
Who's that? Who?
Mariano.
Not a nice guy. I got along with him great. I loved him.
Well, maybe you saw him more than me. That's why. I don't know.
No, yeah.
I just could never warm up to him. And I know that he since he's retired, he's making a profit on his name and the autograph. And you need to speak to kids. He wants to be paid to do that. Come on.
Oh, is that right? Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Let's shift to boxing. That's where we keep it in the ring. And
I was going to tell you my
you-
Mariano story, how we bonded.
no. Go ahead. Go ahead. I want to keep you on as much as I can the next
We
10
were in
minutes. 5
Boston.
minutes.
He came in with,
Yeah.
with a couple of bags from the American Girl store, which is super expensive because I have a daughter, and I knew he didn't have a daughter. I said, "Would you go there?" I just like, what's up with this? He goes, "Oh, for my niece." I said, "Man, you got, look." I said, "I know you make a lot of money, but you go to the American Girl store. Every single doll has a sister, a cousin, a dog, a friend, and a kitchen. So you walk out spending $1,000. He goes, "Man, you're right." So after that, we were friends. I kind of touted him off the American Girl story after he had already spent his money. So that was it. That's my Mariano story. After that, we always got along very, very well.
Well, you got a ton of other stories with those Yankee teams that won championships. You being on the beat there, and even a little bit with the Mets and the whole.
I got to be honest with you. I
you.
loved being on the Yankee beat. I really did. I liked it.
Well, it is an interesting beat. I enjoy it. I enjoy being around there.
And not only that, I thought even though I'm not going to mention any names, some of the people who work for them can be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, we know.
But
I know.
I
you're
will
talking
say that
about.
it's a very, very professional organization.
It really
Players-
is compared. Yeah.
Compared to that, right? The players conduct themselves like professionals.
Robert, the whiz right there, is learning about that now, and he's seeing
Yeah.
it. He's seeing it as a young guy in this business. He's seeing what I keep telling him stories. I bring your name up all the time.
What about Cespedes? When Cespedes was with the Mets, I don't know whether he was a good guy or a bad guy. All I know is that the Mets protected him. If he didn't want to talk, no, you can't talk to him today. There's nobody in the Yankee clubhouse you can't talk to. And if somebody says they're not going to talk to you, the Yankees tell him, get the hell out there and talk.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
And they're all media trained.
But they're media trained, but you really don't have access to them as much as you did any player.
No,
Yankees,
not at all.
In that post-game clubhouse now, they put up a screen. Yankee.
I haven't been there since the pandemic.
I'll tell you what that's what they do, and it's very hard to talk to very, very difficult to talk to the players. And speaking of Cespedes, I'm going to always say this: you backed me up. One of the few in this business over the years backed me up when I scooped the world that Cespedes was going to be a New York Met.
Right.
And then all the guys on the beat said, "How did he get that? I don't believe it. Who is this? All that." You backed me up, and I'll never forget that. How you've always backed me up. You've always backed me up in this business. And
one thing I don't like, I will tell you this: I love the guys on the Yankee beat. I really got along well with them, but there's a lot of pettiness among baseball writers, especially the national columnists, because they all want to be credited. I had it first. No, you had it first. No, I spelled it right. You didn't. It gets so petty.
It's child's play.
Want to take their heads and smash them together.
It's child's play. It's stupid.
But I must say the beat guys are not like that. It's the national guys.
I mean, we're going to talk boxing now briefly because, you and I are associated with that. You're a lifelong member of the Boxing Writers of America, an honorary Writer of the Year, and great content all the time. I've learned a lot from you. Bert Sugar was my mentor, but I learned a lot from you. You and I have covered many a fight at ringside, many post-fight press conferences, but you had this, whatever. You were tight with Mike Tyson. It got off to
we had our ups and downs.
Yeah. But you and Mike Tyson hit it off, and I never could. I might see Mike this Friday at a show I'm involved with in New Jersey, but
tell him I said hello and then duck.
I will. Every time I mention your name to him, he gets excited. He starts.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah. He loves it when I mention Wallace Mathews. He does.
Great. I'm going to try to call him tomorrow, see if he takes the call.
What was it, you and Mike Tyson? What started it, the relationship with you and Mike?
You know what? I went up to see him in Catskill before his debut at the Garden, which was in 1984, I guess, or maybe 5. I don't know. He was about 18 years old, and I was 27. All right? Everybody else on the beat was old. And I mean, comparatively old. It was Michael Katz, it was Ed Schuyler, it was Pat Putnam. Yeah. They were all 20 some odd years older than me.
Oh man!
Right. No, they were terrific writers. They
Yeah.
were terrific writers, but for some reason Tyson thought that me and him were kind of from the same generation, even though I was almost 10 years older than him. I was at least somewhere close, to his age. And the other guy that he liked quite a bit was John Saraceno, who's the same age as me, USA Today writer. He kind of felt like we were the young guys on the beat, even though we were quite a bit older than him. So I hit it off with him pretty good. But then what happens is, and this happens, especially when you cover boxing, because you do get a lot of one-on-one access, and you get to know the guys, and they get to know you. As they go along, you have to sometimes criticize them.
Right.
And I did have to criticize him. I criticized him after the Tillis fight because, I thought he barely won it. He was lucky to win it. And I thought that he showed a lot of flaws. And I wrote this. And Mike didn't really get upset about it, but Kevin Rooney did and Jim Jacobs did. And then I had to criticize him after another fight. I'm trying to remember which one after that. But all I know is little by little, he was getting more and more sensitive about things that were being written about him. And then by the time he got to Don King, King's whole MO is, us against them. The writers are no good, man. Stay. That's the way he controls his fighters. So by then, Tyson was completely poisoned and didn't talk to me, didn't talk to a lot of the guys that he had talked to previously. But I will say this, in the last 5 years or so, me and him have talked, and we seem to be pretty cool again.
Oh, I know.
Take
When
it.
I bring
Could be
up your
because
name,
he's
I
always
consider he loved
stoned,
it.
too.
Now, you were one of the few. Wiz, I'm going to mention it because you weren't even born. You were one of the few that went.
That's
to
all
Japan.
good, by the way. It's good to be young.
Yeah, he's making me.
I did not go
making
for
me
the Douglas
older.
fight, Rich. I did not. I
Oh,
went for the
I
Tubbs
thought you
fight.
did. I thought you did.
I'll tell you why. The reason I didn't get to the Douglas fight is because I was honest about the Tubbs fight. I went to Tony. He fought Tony Tubbs in Japan a year before, or 2 years before he fought Douglas. Knocked him out in the second round. Cost my paper like $10,000 for me to be there for a week. Super expensive back then. So they brought me into the office. Now he's signed to fight Buster Douglas. My editor brings me in. He says, Mike Tyson's fighting in Tokyo against this guy Buster Douglas. Can he lose? I said, I seriously doubt it. Because I had seen Douglas. I saw him quit against Tony Tucker on one of the Tyson undercards, and he just was not impressive. He looked like he was talented, but he's a quitter. He's a quitter. He's a guy that would get tired and just say, all right, the hell with it, I'm done. So I said, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think he can win, but it is Mike Tyson. It is the heavyweight championship, and we should be there. They said, you know what? We're going to take a pass on it. Okay, we'll take a pass on it. Well, I will tell you this. I worked harder that week than had I been in Japan because the fight ended like at midnight here. They made me write a column. I was up all night writing, on Tyson's defeat. And then I had to write every single day. And because of the 14-hour time difference with Japan, I was working all these insane hours to get stuff in the paper. And I had to do it all over the phone. I would have much rather had been there in Japan. But, yeah, I didn't go because I told him the truth. I didn't think he could win. Now, in hindsight, I wish I had said, oh, Buster Douglas is going to kick his ass.
Most historic event in pro boxing history, as you know.
Yeah.
I was going to say another one of the most wild nights in boxing history, Holyfield Tyson. What was that energy and intensity like?
He and I covered that.
Two different.
That.
Yeah, the first one, I was really worried about Evander because Evander had just fought Bobby Chez at the Garden and looked awful. He looked absolutely shot. And I was thinking, and I know the way like King and Tyson think, the only reason why they took this fight is they think that he's washed up, right? They think he's washed. And I'm thinking he's going to get hurt tonight. And I remember on the day of the fight, it was in November. My first child just been born in September. It's 2 months old. I remember calling my wife, and I know I was being overly dramatic, but I said, if this SOB wins tonight, meaning Tyson, how am I ever going to teach our son right from wrong? Because the other guy is a good guy, man. He's a stand-up guy. He's never. And Tyson, of course, had just come out of prison for rape. And all kinds of horrible. And I said, evil is going to be good tonight, and I just feel sick about it. So now I'm sitting at ringside, and I'm sitting next to Jerry Eisenberg, legendary columnist, New York Star Ledger, covered Muhammad Ali, knows everything about boxing. Watching the first round, and Holyfield wins the first round big. And I turned to Jerry and I said, Tyson is getting knocked out tonight. And the reason I said that was because Tyson's best round is the first round. After that, he gets progressively worse. And if that was as good as he could do in the first round tonight, it's only going to get worse and worse for him as this goes on. And he did. I don't think he won a single round the whole fight. So that was that fight. I went in scared to death. Second fight, I went in very confident Holyfield's going to kick the living crap out of him. And I will tell you this, and Rich probably remembers this. Teddy Atlas, who had trained Tyson as a kid, called me a couple of days before the fight and said, you wait. If Tyson's in danger of getting knocked out, he's going to do something to hurt Holyfield. He's going to do something to get disqualified because he's not going to take another beating. And I was like, that sounds kind of crazy. And you know what? That SOB, he nailed it. He nailed it. Because as soon as Tyson got into trouble, what did he do? He bit the guy's ear off.
Bit his ear.
Teddy was right. Yeah. But Teddy said it. He said he's going to do something.
Forget that. You were much closer to it than I was, because I didn't have that elite status you did.
You know what really got me?
You know
what really got me about that? I mean, first of all, it's the most unsportsmanlike thing I've ever seen. And I'm old enough to remember, Juan Marichal and Johnny Roseborough. For those, youngsters, Marichal hit Roseborough with a bat in the head, at home plate. I thought that was the most unsportsmanlike thing I would ever have seen. I was about 8 years old when it happened. This was worse. But what really got me was Tyson, when he bit it off, he spit it out on the floor and said, I couldn't hear what he said, but he said something like, how do you like that? It was just like, what did he just do?
He went downhill after Custom Model passed away. He couldn't handle that. And I think that was a part what you saw. He just couldn't handle himself.
Yeah, but I think it was gonna happen anyway, because his character was gonna come out. If Custom Model wasn't dead, Tyson would have rebelled against him. He got to the point where he got money and he was like, well, now I don't have to listen to anybody anymore. All right. I'm not listening to Kevin. I'm not listening. He certainly wasn't going to listen to Bill Caton. Bill Caton was the co-manager, a complete weakling.
Yeah.
Had no rapport with Tyson, no rapport with any human being, quite honestly. I mean, this dude was, he was a cold fish. When Jacobs died, I think that might even have been worse, because Jacobs, I thought, had a really strong hold on him. But it was going to happen anyway. This was his nature.
Right.
Wally
Mathews, Wally, the top heavyweight in your time covering, is it Tyson? Who would it be?
Oh, it's got to be Holmes or Holyfield. I only caught Holmes at the end of his career. My first fight with Holmes was his first fight against Spinks, which he lost. So I must say the best one that I covered, it's probably Evander. I mean, you can make a case for Lennox. But, as I've fought with people on Twitter about this, but you will never find in the record of any great heavyweight champion knockout losses in their prime to guys like Oliver McCall and Hasim Rahman.
You got
Never happened. Did not happen to Joe Louis. Did not happen to Muhammad Ali. Did not happen to Joe Frazier. Did not happen to George Foreman. Didn't happen to any of these guys. They got knocked out at the end of their careers. Some of them, didn't.
Well, Rahman's son is fighting.
He's fighting that
Jake
YouTube
Paul.
clown. Yeah.
Jake.
Speaking of that, what are your thoughts on Jake Paul in the boxing industry, month by month, making a name for himself?
Well, you know what? Listen, I'm all for fighters making as much money as they can, because it's clearly the most dangerous sport out there. I don't want to hear about MMA, boxing, and horse racing. Riding the back of a thoroughbred, when you're 98 pounds, two of the most dangerous things you can do on planet Earth, short of going to war. So I'm all for guys making as much money as possible. It does bother me when a guy like Jake Paul is making a huge amount of money because he has a YouTube following, not because he's a good fighter. There are really good fighters out there who should be making more money than Jake Paul. This has gone on throughout boxing history, though, Rich. I mean, am I wrong about that? Guys that can market themselves make more money than guys that can't. I mean, like Bud Crawford's a great fighter, but he really can't market himself. He's got no personality whatsoever. Should he be making more money than Jake Paul? Goddamn right.
It's a totally different era of what we covered years ago than what it is now. You're not missing much, you really aren't, except for the storylines that are there,
But I pay attention to the guys I want to pay attention to,
Yeah. Plus, a pay-per-view every 2 weeks is not going to cut it.
I won't buy a pay-per-view. I will not buy a pay-per-view.
No.
You know what? YouTube the next morning, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, that's it. We've been around the beat a long time, you and I, and we've done almost, I don't know how many minutes. We're going to have you on again. I got to run, my friend. I got a lot more to do.
My pleasure being with you guys.
Yeah, it just meant a lot to me and the Wiz Robert Rizzo to be on
Thank
Sports
you, Wally.
with Rich. You're
we
on
appreciate
SLG
it.
Network in Utah. You two, Wiz and Wally, well, you know what? You can meet on the boardwalk for a cup of coffee or something. You're near each other. All right?
Yeah, we'll plan something out.
I'm on a beach guy.
Field 6, man. That's my office.
There you go. I hope you're, I know you're still keeping busy. You're not as active in the business as you once was. No, neither am I. but people can still reach you. Where do they reach you? That Twitter handle is unbelievably good. You got to get Wally on Twitter.
Oyster Bay Bomber. That's like
I
the only
wouldn't
place
say
you can read me these days.
no, I wouldn't say it's awkward, but it is unusual. But
It jumps
it's
off
good
the
stuff.
page. Jumps off
Yeah.
the page.
But where do they reach you, Wally?
The only place you can read me these days is on Twitter, man. I'm just hanging out, relaxing, watching games, going to the beach. I will get back into things
You
as
will.
soon as the summer's over. I'm on summer vacation, baby.
Okay.
Awesome.
You're near the beach. You might as well. You'll
Yes,
be
sir.
back in here, my friend. You will, and I'm going to see you again in the press box more often. And it rings
Well,
out
Is
on
once
that
the
a
in a
show,
threat
while.
or a promise?
Well, with me, it's never a threat. It's always a promise. I need you to protect me. I need you.
I'm definitely coming to a game this year. I do miss being
Good.
there. So
We'll
Looking
be
forward to it.
talking. We'll be talking in this week. We always talk. We always stay in touch. Thank you, Wally.
my
Thank
pleasure,
you.
guys. Take care.
This was great. Thanks, my friend. Keep it in the ring.
Yes, sir.
Wallace Mathews, Oyster Bay Bomber on Twitter, esteemed longtime New York sports journalist. My pleasure to know him almost 35 years. And Wiz, that was great. It really
Yeah,
was.
I gotta get my creative skills up with Twitter names because that one's awesome.
We're 11:15 p.m. Eastern Time now. Sports with Rich live on the SLG Network. YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, leave your questions in the cube. We're going to continue keeping it in the ring now to the bottom of the hour. Take that brief break and come back with Craig DeGeorge. Craig Nervi, as the Marlins game is wrapped up. I'm going to have him on at the bottom of the hour. I already notified him. Thank God for technology in these phones. I was able to reach him. Let's continue keep it in the ring. Let's talk boxing again. And Wiz, we got a big boxing show briefly coming up Friday night, East Rutherford, New Jersey, Bergen County Fight Night 2. And I'll be at ringside. BXNG TV is the pay-per-view to get it at the American Dream Mall in East Rutherford, New Jersey. And it's going to be a good show. The weigh-in is Thursday at 2 p.m. Everyone is welcome. First fight, 7 p.m. Friday night, Wiz. Looking forward to it. I'm at broadcasting as well with Anthony Johnson, ABC Channel 7, former pro fighter Richard Pearson from the area. And I'm looking forward to it. Tell us about it more.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited about it. Half the card is New York guys, half the other half is New Jersey guys. We got Julian Hammerhands Rodriguez for the main event versus Gabriel Punaleaf out of Argentina. Rodriguez is 21-1, 14 knockouts. It's his 13-month return. His last fight was against Jose Pedraza on Top Rank, June of 2021. Next up, Robert Tiger Terry. He's 6-0 against Isaiah Selden, who's 14-5 They're both out of New Jersey. Next up, Mike the Champ Lee, Jersey City, the Battle of Jersey City, both from Jersey City. Mike the Champ Lee and Ryan, and he's fighing Ryan Schwartzberg. So it's going to be an epic night.
11 bouts. If
11
everybody
fights.
makes weigh-in on Thursday, BXNG TV with the telecast. I think it's a $19.99 purchase, so it's worth the price. Tickets still on sale at the American Dream, East Rutherford, New Jersey, right there back at MetLife Stadium. Looking forward to it. The promoter, Scott Abella, he's what we need in this business. And I'm not saying that because we're working for him. I'm saying that because you need promoters like this, small-time shows, building up, giving fighters opportunity. And, hey, Julian Rodriguez, a world title contender just a year ago, back in the ring on the comeback trail, and we wish him luck and look forward to seeing them Thursday and Friday. All right, continue keeping the ring boxing. Next night, Brooklyn, Barclays Center. It's here. Danny Garcia, his debut at 154 against Jose Benitez. Going to be a good fight, good card at the Barclays Center to be seen on Showtime. I look for Garcia to win and start making his move later in his career, 154. The rumor, the talk, Gambosis will have a rematch to get his title back in Australia lightweight title against Devin Haney. That's if they don't decide to move up to 140. Because that's what everybody wants to do now in the boxing. In Australia, October 16th is when they want to do this fight. Henny Gambosis, the rematch. Gambosis just bombed out during the first fight and lost the titles a few months ago. Adrian Broner made news, the problem child. Bad news again. Virtual press conference for Showtime, and there he goes going off and saying He'd know Floyd shit on a computer and insulting people, walked off. Basically, he resented the fact that he had to do a presser on virtual, on a computer. Well, Adrian, that's what we do. But his mouth continues to be foul as Broner gets ready to fight Omar, look at it, I just went brain dead. Figueroa. That's a Showtime fight coming up in mid-August. Broner's coming back. How much he has left, I don't know. Where he's going to go, 154, 160, I don't know. You never know what the problems are. But the foul mouth, he's doing his press obligation, walks away. I turned it all off. I didn't watch any more of it. I didn't need to see that. Tyson Fury is talking about coming out of retirement. The money's right against Anthony Joshua. Fury said he retired. The money's right. He's going to fight Joshua if Joshua prevails, gets the titles back against Usyk in August over in London, which will draw mega numbers on ESPN pay-per-view. No, on the Zone. That fight's on the Zone. So the rematch coming up, Joshua Usyk, and then we'll see what happens with Tyson Fury's decision. A lot of boxing, even though it's the off season in the summer. All right. Before we get to Craig Marinelli, Craig DeGeorge, let's get to keep it in the ring. John, come on in real quick. And I know he's waiting patiently, John, our great producer behind the scenes at the SLG Network. John, the Vince McMahon story was huge. Caught everyone by surprise. If you read my column on NewYorkSportsDay.com, I go into perspective of it. Vinnie Mac is retired. Vinnie Mac said Vince McMahon stepped away. Under the pressure, the allegations of misusing funds now out of WWE stock. They are a public traded company. Hush money to quiet a gal he had hired, and supposedly things went wrong with him and her. You read my column on NewYorkSportsDay.com. It goes into it a little more and explains more about Vince McMahon and his rise to the top and what he did, and to the decline now where he resigned. It created worldwide news. The complexion now with WWE has changed. John, host of Around the Ropes here on the SLG Network. Give me your thoughts briefly.
I thought it shocked me. It really did. It was not something we expected. To be honest, I thought the only way you were going to get him out of that company is in a body bag. I know that may sound hurtful, but it's unfortunately the honest truth. I thought the guy was going to be there until the day he died. To see him leave the way he did, I'm kind of surprised, and we talked about this on our show. Whatever you may think of him, he's the reason why there's pro wrestling right now. He's the GOAT.
Yeah, he is. And but things have changed, and they have to adjust now to better creativity. WWE needs that. We saw that on Monday Night Raw last night. Triple H now in control of the creative team. You saw the difference last night on Monday Night Raw. Stephanie, the daughter, she's in charge with Nick Khan. How long that will stay. But for the moment, the adjustment is there. Seems like the talent and act in the locker room, WWE locker room, they seem to adjust it. Let's face it. Vince McMahon had a lot of adversaries. Vince McMahon did a lot for the industry. He's no longer here. Not all bad, as I wrote. He did come to the aid and assistance of a lot of his talent and gave a lot of them opportunity. And his biggest creation, The Undertaker, will never forget it.
Yeah, I've said that before also. I think when you look at what he's done, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have guys like The Undertaker.
Yeah.
I don't think Rock would have ever gotten to the level he did. Neither would have Austin. Neither would have Cena. None of them. Hell, you can even say Hogan would never have gotten to the level he did if it wasn't for Vince.
Well, this is an ongoing story as Vince is now behind, and I don't know if he's totally out of it. I'm sure they'll talk to him and consult about things. But for the moment, what you like is a creativity change, a much better Monday Night Raw, and you might see that develop more Sunday at Saturday night, WWE SummerSlam from Las Vegas, right?
Saturday, from Nashville.
Saturday night. They do Saturday night events now on Peacock. And you're going to see, again, you're going to see Lesnar and Roman Reigns. And I'm waiting to see Pat McAfee and Madcap. I want to see McAfee kick his ass.
And the funny
Interesting
thing is,
SummerSlam.
one thing you brought up McAfee quickly. He and Corbin were actually teammates on the Colts.
Yeah.
Wow.
That which is great.
That's a good
Now go back
storyline
to
right there.
go back to Vince, Tony Khan. He came out on Twitter. Put that up, John.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Thank you, wrestling fans. You're great support of AEW, and AEW is a great new promotion the last few years, and I love them. I'm grateful to now be the longest tenured CEO in pro wrestling. Thank you very much, every single person who watches. See you Friday night at AEW Rampage." And this occurred like on Wednesday. I didn't think that was too nice. I think he should have just thanked Vince McMahon for all the time he put into pro wrestling, his life, and forget about him being number one. I still say AEW will surpass WWE within the next 3 to 5 years. I see that coming with all the things they're working on in the streaming network. But to come out with something like that, come on, Tony. I didn't agree with that.
I thought that was very immature. And despite the fact what he may think about Vince, a simple thank you, Vince. Because like I said before, if it wasn't for Vince, we wouldn't be talking about Tony Khan.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Ric Flair's final match coming up, and this happened. He got attacked. Jeff Jarrett, and who was that? Swerve? Who was that?
Jay Lethal. Jay
Lethal from Ring of Honor. And Ric Flair was a bloody mess. I thought on the 31st.
They had to do something. I mean, they had to build some sort of storyline. It's actually very apropos. I wore my Ric Flair shirt today.
There we go.
Yeah.
Representing.
So we look to see Ric Flair's final match. I don't think he's going to get involved too much. He's got a pacemaker, the old man. He's 76 years old. I think it's ridiculous. I'm going to ask Craig DeGeorge about that in a moment. And finally, we wrap up Keep It in Ring with this. The new Ring of Honor champion would, of course, they're with AEW now. Here he is, Claudio. What did you think of that?
I wasn't shocked. The way they were building him up, it wasn't a surprise to me. I don't know if you heard the guy who he faced actually asked for his release from the company already. Because he didn't like how they brought Claudio in and then shot him right to the main title and had him win the main title right away. So things are looking interesting right now as Ring of Honor is slowly coming back to being a relevant promotion again.
We'll see. What was his name again in WWE? Cesaro.
Yep.
And now he gets the championship.
And also, John, with the weigh-in coming up this Thursday, where can fans watch that?
Right here
That's
in the
right.
SLG network.
Streaming it live on the SLG network. All right.
Yep.
John, thank you. Is Craig DeGeorge, Craig Minervini, is he in the cube ready to go?
Yeah, he's here.
Let's get him. He's been holding on with us, being patient, and I want to get him on. Talk more, keep it in the ring. Then we'll do the break, the update, and continue after that. Go into our official second hour. Here he is, zooming in from Florida. What part, Craig?
I'm in South Florida. I don't want to give it away because I don't want any of your listeners to stalk me.
No. Sports with Rich.
Can you see over my shoulder of Jake the Snake here?
Oh, yeah.
No, let's take a look. There you go.
There we go.
There you
Snake
go.
is
He
huge.
was great to work with, and you worked with him.
Oh, he was great.
This is Craig DeGeorge. That was his name when he was a WWF commentator for Vince McMahon years back. The pleasure of knowing him and working with him. And there's the old jacket. I have a jacket. I have a jacket, but not like that because you did the commentary. I didn't.
That's right.
His real name is
jacket.
Craig Minervini.
I've known you
A
for
fellow
40 years. You
Paisan.
still can't pronounce my name.
No, I don't pronounce it. Don't feel offended. I don't pronounce anyone's name right. I can't even pronounce my name right. But he was
great to be on your show, Rich Matarenzo. But what's your name? Oh, Mancuso. Yes. I even sent him a phonetic. Let me see it. Minervini. It's not that hard, right?
Yeah, I got it. No. Because I always call you Craig, and I always call you Craig DeGeorge. That was your broadcast name with WWF. That I don't know how that happened. You have a story behind that. That's Robert Rizzo, the Wiz, my co-host, who's also another Long Islander where you're from.
Where you from, Robert?
And he's always been a wrestling guy. He's learning more about it. But you know what, Greg, you worked with Vince McMahon. He's old. Craig, we're going to talk baseball too. Craig is also the
There you go.
Yeah, pre and post game host for Marlins, Miami Marlins baseball down in the Fox network down in South Florida, and does a great job with that. Does a great job with everything. Better than me. That's why he is where he is, and I'm here where I am. But Craig, you worked with Vince McMahon 2 times. Okay, your thoughts briefly on his sudden retirement. And look, let's face it, you and I saw a lot of shenanigans backstage. We saw a lot of things over the years in the industry. I'm not saying he was guilty or not. We don't know. But everything seems to be against him. What are your thoughts on his sudden decision to now say, goodbye, I'm retired?
Well, first of all, I think you guys alluded to this. A legend, an absolute legend. Took the business where his father never thought it could go. I always remember this story he told me about going down an aisle of a sports store and looking at, or in a games area, and looking at G.I. Joe dolls and telling his dad, Vince Sr., that someday kids will be playing with wrestling dolls. And his dad looked at him like he was crazy. And then he takes over. His dad unfortunately passed away, a class act. Everybody knew him in the Northeast. I remember hearing great stories from Herb Kaplan, who worked for MSG Network when I interned there, which is how I basically got the job at the World Wrestling Federation back in the day. And, when we know what Vince did, he went into St. Louis. I believe that was the first market, put his show on television and got it on national TV. He wasn't in the wrestling business. He was in the professional wrestling business. And he brought it to heights that, it's almost hard to believe that even through all the entertainment changes we've had in the world, it's still big. And I was there probably when it was huge, as big as it's been in the late 80s, WrestleMania 3 and 4. And then I worked for Herb Abrams in the UWF for a few years too. So I look at that. I don't know all the little particulars here. It's happened a lot. We've seen a lot of powerful men go down in the last 5 or 10 years. And so I'm not going to comment on that because I really don't know about that. I know about the guy I worked for, and I learned a lot from him. And I appreciate my time. It was short, a couple of years. I wish it was longer then. And then I went back. He hired me for the XFL, and I got to do the XFL with Bob Golick, and also do a playoff game or two. And Vince was in my ear, which is another story. But I love the guy. I really do. And he did a lot for me. And I appreciate him taking me out of Oak Hill, West Virginia, the 143rd market, by the way, to work for the World Wrestling Federation.
Craig, what do you think his defining legacy will be all these years working under his dad, taking over the company and building an empire, as I call it, and making and resurging pro wrestling? He resurged the whole business, the whole industry. What do you think defines his legacy?
He made it mainstream, Rich, is what he did. He made wrestling, he made them household names. When I was growing up with Killer Kowalski and watching Bruno Sammartino and Bob Backlund and all those guys in the 70s, and a million guys that I would later work with as agents, they weren't household names. Chief Jay Strongbow was known to a wrestling fan, but nobody knew President Jack Tunney, who knew the bylaws better than anybody. I mean, he went to that manual how many times? Well, looking at the bylaws, we have determined now. This is classic stuff. So, nobody will ever be bigger in wrestling ever than Vince McMahon was. He's still with us, so we shouldn't talk like he's passed.
Right.
He's stepping down. I hope he enjoys his money, and I'm sure he will. He won't be able to spend it all. But he was really fascinating to work with.
Does he make a comeback when Wiz, I got to ask Craig this. Yeah. Knowing Vince the way you did, better than me, do you think he makes a comeback when this eventually blows over? That we've seen this before with others.
Would not surprise me. Anything is open, I think. Plus the fact that his daughter and his son-in-law are running the company. Basically, he could be like, it reminds me of maybe like Bobby Valentine with the mustache in the dugout. Is that really?
Yeah.
Is he still? It's described to me by Phil Harmon, is the guy who basically hired me. He was Vince's right-hand man at the time. He used to be an executive at Madison Square Garden Television, moved over to Titan Sports, called me up for my first job and said, would you be interested? Now, I watched wrestling. I wasn't the fan you were, Rich, growing up, but I was very familiar with it. I loved watching Vince, excuse me, call the action. I thought he was a great, forgotten in this, is a great play-by-play guy. Great straight man.
Yeah.
Great setup.
Yeah.
He knew it because he was the one who came up with everything. I can remember these meetings we'd have around a table of 40 people, a long oval table at wherever arena we were at. And he would go over the scripts. We'd have the papers like this. And the first show would be, okay, Vince will say this. Jesse, remember, do not say dog nap because the ASPCA is after us.
That
So
being
Matilda
Jesse the
is
Body
dead, we cannot
Ventura.
use the
Yeah.
word dog nap. And, it's just spectacular to work with again. So irreplaceable.
He's always speaking in your ear, too.
Yeah, I think
He was always
can you hear
speaking.
me okay?
Yeah.
Can
I
you
hear
me
you
okay?
fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
Vince McMahon used to say, "Do you in your ear all the time? Do you hear me okay?"
Oh yes. Well, you know what? When I did the XFL, which is the other thing I did. Here's our manual. Back in the XFL days, see, I got props
That's
for you
great.
here. A lot of your, I didn't see Wally Mathews bring on props, but that's what
No.
you're getting here. Rich. No, let me just tell you this though. XFL. Matt Veskurgeon tells me, have you worked with Vince yet? I said, no, we were on like the number 3 or 4 game. So I didn't get Vince until we were in New York, game 3 of the season, New York, New Jersey Hitmen playing at the Meadowlands. And Vince was in the truck. And Matt said, just wait. And sure enough, the event starts and every hand up. Tell me who's got the ball. Tell me that. Tell me that.
Yeah,
Tell me
yeah.
that. And I looked over at Golick and I'm like, he knows you too. But by the second half, he was better. And later in the year, I did a game, and he didn't, he gave us some thoughts before the event, but not in your ear the whole game. And I will say this, he moved our crew. We were the number 4 crew, and he moved us up to do a playoff game over Chris Marlowe, who's a great broadcaster, over his crew. So we got a playoff game. And I was sad it didn't come back that second year because we had a nice deal with them, and we really enjoyed doing the games.
This is Craig Marinervi. I got it right. Craig DeGeorge when he was with the WWF back then. Minervini. I'm good. Yeah, he will. Minervini. Yeah.
There we go.
2 Long Island guys can do that.
First off, thank you, Craig, for joining.
Really.
Thank you for joining us. And I wanted to talk about the Marlins.
We're gonna do that, but before we do that, Riz, I gotta throw some old photos that he's gotta see. John, throw it up, John.
Don't throw up, John. Just throw the picture.
No, don't throw those. There we go. All right.
Who's that handsome
That's recent when we reunite all the time when you're here with the Marlins in New York. All right. So yeah, well, yeah, you're the better looking guy and the better voice and everything else. I'm just an old dinosaur. And then we got this, and I know you don't want to see this, but there you go.
Coming up at Boston Garden this Saturday, a great card, Coco Beware, will take on CV and Aki in a rare 1-on-2 matchup. Come on in. Randy Macho Man Savage, you've got a big those interviews, this is Vince, okay? That show was on across the country, right? And I probably told this story. Maybe you guys know it. You probably do, Rich. But the interviews were customized in markets where the WWF would be coming over the next, let's say, 2 months. Anything outside of 2 months or so, they'd have a generic interview. What that meant was Gene Oakland and myself had to do a lot of interviews every week because we had 2 shows, 3 shows running, but really 2 main shows, Superstars and Challenge. And they would have to put 3 interviews in each show. So you would do these localized interviews. We're coming to Springfield, Massachusetts. We're coming to the Centrum in Worcester, Mass. We're coming. And Hogan would warm up with Erie, Pennsylvania, the Erie County Field House, and Paducah, Kentucky. And after about 10, you go, okay, brother, bring on New York. And you do the same interview, basically localized for about 20 with each guy. I'd go to Arizona for a dark show, no television. And we'd be in a lobby of a room in the Holiday Inn with a blue background with WWF and do all those interviews. 120 a day.
Yeah, the job was much
Busy
more
days.
complicated. Yeah, and much more complicated than it is now, that's for sure. But you had great memories there, and you did the time. I got to say this. You and I both been in the pro wrestling industry, and you got to say this. It's different. It's creative. It's fun. It's also very, very stressful. But it's a
Yes.
great part of the working in this business. If you get an opportunity to work in the pro wrestling industry and you can put up with the shenanigans and everything else, it's a great job.
I loved
Storytellers,
it. Yeah.
being around the wrestlers, just the stories they tell. I got tons of them. That's why we're going to write a book, me and you. We got to get to that project. We've been talking
We do
about
have
it for
to get there.
years.
We've talked about it.
We'll get to it. All right, Wiz, now let's segue with Craig. I'm not going to, I call him Craig DeGeorge because I can't get the last name right.
Call me DeGeorge
All
because
these
you can pronounce that one.
I know. It's easier. Baseball. This is Craig is the pre and post game host for the Miami Marlins. FX, what is it? The Fox affiliate down there, Craig?
It's called Valley Sports now. Thanks.
Now it's Valley Sports, right? And Wiz talked about the Marlins because this is a young team with a lot of names on that roster right now. Did he win tonight? Did your team win tonight?
They did. They won 2-1 tonight. Good job by Pablo Lopez. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
There's a lot of names on that roster up for rumored in the trade market. Wiz, take it over. Throw those names up and analyze.
We got Sandy Alcantara, Pablo Lopez, Jazz Chisholm's hurt right now, Jesus Aguilar. I like what they're doing, and I think they're heading in the right direction compared to past years. They're 45-61. 46 win was tonight.
46 and 51. We're only
51.
500. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. They were what, five and a half games out of the wild
You're on
card.
it. I didn't see what happened in the game. We're 5 out of the wild card. They're 4 in the loss column, I believe. So look, you're under 500. You're on the outside sort of looking in. But if you were only 5 out of the wild card, 4 out, and you were 5 or 10 over, you'd feel better about it. But you still, either way, you're still in the race because there's 3 teams this year beyond the division winners. So the question is going to be, guys, what does the Marlins management feel? Are they going to trade the guys? You're not trading Sandy Alcantara, by the way. He's not going anywhere. But anybody else, I would think for the right deal, who knows? Unless you decide, and they really need to win down here, unless you decide, let's just keep status quo unless we get blown away with a trade. You're blown away with a trade, you got to make the deal. But if you're not blown away, you're right there. You're knocking on the door. They haven't been consistent, but they have had 3 streaks of 5 wins or more. And let's see what happens.
Alcantara's performed at the best capability this year. He's eventually going to win the Cy Young, I think. What makes him Sandy Alcantara this year?
Well, he has tremendous command of all his pitches. He has an incredible fastball, but he also he darts his slider this way, he throws another pitch that way. He's around the box, but not down the middle. He's tremendously confident, and nothing rattles the guy. So, and he works out harder than anybody, that we know down here. And so that his training is incredible, where he can go 8 innings. I think he's gotten 8 innings. He's got 8 innings 9 times this year. And no team, the last I looked the other day, Houston had gone 8 innings, 1 pitcher, 7 times, the entire team. So he has pitched 8 innings more than any team has had one guy throw 8. It's a throwback type guy. He might wind up throwing 230, 240 this year, guys.
Yeah, he's at 144 right now. He'll be there.
Pablo Lopez is not far behind. Some team that kicks up Lopez is going to do well. As long as the Marlins can get something back. I love his dynamite fastball, and he's got a great curve, Greg. He really does.
He's got his changeup.
The changeup.
Yes.
Yeah.
The changeup is spectacular.
I love it
tonight. 11 strikeouts.
Yeah. So what are you hearing down there? Are any of these top young pitchers on that Marlins team going to be traded before the deadline, August 2nd?
It's a good question, and I don't know the answer, to be honest with you. I'm not sure which way they're going to go, because it's weird that you're 5 under, but you're not far out of it. You really are striking distance away. I remember a couple of years ago, they went to the playoffs in 20. They were only 31-29, and that was that short season with the pandemic. So I don't know which way they're going to go. Like I said, if they get blown away with something, maybe you make a move. Their offense has been the problem this year. They've got one of the best pitching ERAs in the league. They're 3rd or 4th in the league in ERA. Obviously, Sandy Roberts is a big factor there, but you got Pablo and Braxton Garrett came up, pitched well. The bullpen has been pretty good. Really, Tanner Scott's a little bit of a wild card in the 9th, but tonight 1, 2, 3. They got Garcia. and Soler right before the season, big bats, World Series MVP, and a pretty good veteran, and neither has really been productive. You give me just a little production, they're at 500 and right in the middle of this thing. And
How about
even there, a little
Williams,
win
too?
streak, they're right back. So we'll see.
Williams has been a big part of that staff as well.
Give me that one again.
Oh, Trevor Rogers.
Rogers.
What am I saying?
Yes,
Williams?
I thought you were talking about.
I got
Bill
his name wrong
Williams.
too. I'm really doing good tonight. Trevor
Bill
Rogers.
Williams, the great Chicago Cub. That's my Bob Murphy voice, by the way. Back with the lineups and batting orders in just a moment. First, this message.
You didn't know, Wiz, that Craig's a stand-up comic as well. I'm serious about that.
You're on every avenue.
He comes from a family. They own a comedy club on the island. Very successful as well.
My brother is a working stand-up comedian, and Kevin James and Eddie Murphy and a bunch of guys started out there on Long Island. Rosie O'Donnell, I went to school with, and I worked there. And it was a great place to work because these comedians came in and out. Ray Romano, Jerry Seinfeld is a legendary place on Long Island, the late 70s into the 80s and even early 90s. And it was just incredible with those guys. So I've been around comedy. And actually, Kevin James got me in one of his movies as a ring announcer of all things. And Here Comes the Boom. Did you see that, Rich? By the way, did you see it or no?
Yeah, no, I didn't. I did not admit to it. I'm a busy guy. I can't see everything. The late Johnny Valiant, who was just Johnny, and you helped him get into stand-up as his career ended as a pro wrestler.
He almost killed somebody at Brothers Comedy Club on a Saturday night where he started to get upset with the crowd, and it started to get a little hairy, like he's serious. Like he looks like he's going to kill this guy.
Yeah,
and I think we had to go on stage, and Johnny had a couple of screws loose, but what a great guy and a sad.
I got stories with me and him in back of limousines. I could tell you. That's the book we got to write. We're going to talk about. I need to go back. I know. Nikolai was. You see the old school. We are. Guy like the Wiz, Robert Rizzo wouldn't know who these guys are. He's got to look them up. But Wiz, those were pro wrestlers. And we travel in cars and go all over the place and have a hilarious time passing time with his stories and their fanatic, their tricks and things they wanted to do to us. A lot of stories. I want to go back to the Marlins with you again.
Yeah.
Derek Jeter, subject of documentary on ESPN. You know Derek well. I mean, you worked with him there as a Marlins head of the, he was the president and the owner of the Marlins. Why did he walk away from that? What was the buzz? Why?
Well, first of all, honestly, I didn't get to know him very well. He was a little reserved. He didn't mingle with us quite a bit. I think he finally got my name down at some point, so that was cool. And it was always great to interview him. And I never seen anybody with a more crisp white shirt on than him. I mean, he kept in great shape, and he had the crisp shirt with the perfect crease. It was amazing. But he wouldn't come down all the time to the field, and we didn't have access to his office. So really it was more, hello, how you doing in the hallway, and occasionally an interview here or there. I didn't know him very well. He didn't really work as a salesman, I would say. I think they could have used more Derek Jeter, a sales guy, in terms of helping sell the sport and really reaching out than he did. But he did have an effect. They turned the minor league system over. They're much better. I think they're in better shape than they were. And I'm not sure he clicked with the other ownership. And I don't think he departed, that it was all Derek Jeter. I think from what I've heard, the owners and him made an agreement. And this wasn't just Derek leaving. It was the owners saying, thank you.
But,
one player that spoke about it was Chaz Chisholm. Last year, he was saying how I wanted to be a Hall of Famer. He looked up to Derek Jeter throughout the years. And the kid's 24 years old, first-time All-Star this year. What has been the progress and the development like seeing him up close throughout the years with Chaz Chisholm?
Well, there's one thing is he's injured right now, unfortunately, and nobody would have represented baseball better at the All-Star game than him. It's too bad he was going to start at the All-Star game in Los Angeles. So he did go out there, but he's been injured with some sort of back injury, and he's out for another 6 weeks. I think they said. Hopefully, he'll get back in September because they miss him. They don't have anybody like him. He still leads the team in homers and RBIs, and he's been out since I don't know mid to late June. So it's been a while, but a great talent. Not there yet by any means. A raw talent. He's not a polished hitter yet. His defense has gotten better. Certainly, he's improved. He's got tremendous power he's only 170 pounds or so. I know the homer he hit against DeGrom off a 100-mile-an-hour pitch. Still, people are talking about in New York, and they hit one off with the guy Alvarado with the Phillies, another 100-mile-an-hour pitch out. But certainly a guy you can build around. Exciting player. Probably, they think he's better suited for second, even though he came up as a shortstop.
Young, good, promising team of the future, that's for sure. Trouble drawing fans at that's a beautiful ballpark down there in South Florida, now known as Lone Depot Park. How is it, how is it you hear the broadcasting? I mean, you don't you do your post game right from the stadium, Greg?
Yes, on the home game.
You do the
pre-post
game
at the stadium.
Yeah. How is it, especially play-by-play, how difficult it is to cover that team with no one in that ballpark? I mean, they don't draw. We know that. It's a tough sell.
They don't draw big by New York or other standards, but I will tell you this, because there's a roof there, it's quite noisy with a smaller crowd. The problem you have down here, unfortunately, is that people who follow the Mets and the Phillies and the Cubs and the Yankees live here because we have, unlike where you guys live, a desirable place to live. No, I mean, I'm just kidding. I grew up in Long Island, and I love New York, and I really do. And I'm so glad I grew up in New York. I'm serious, but I'm not joking and saying that. Hey, people are coming down to Florida in droves, right? They don't leave Florida. Not many people leave here. They come here, and so you don't have a New York Floridians and people from all over the place. Generally speaking, of course, it's such a big city, but people are Met fans or Yankee fans. You don't have to deal with Cub fans at Citi Field.
No,
there's a pocket. Yeah, of course, you have everything, but you don't have to deal with it. Down here, if the Mets are here and they're playing well, the Met fans come out. Yankee fans, Cub fans, Philly, because everybody lives here. It's not, they don't have to fly in. They drive over. The hockey team, people from Toronto, Canada. So you got a constant, and it's sad because I grew up going to Shea Stadium. I was a Met fan, not a Yankee fan, but you know how much passion we have for our team. If it wasn't for the Mets, I probably wouldn't like baseball. My dad was a National League fan, and he passed it on to me very early on. So that's a tough part. It's also not in a great location. It's where the Orange Bowl was. So that's another bit of a factor. But again,
it's in Little Havana. I've been there many times. And it's a beautiful ballpark. It's in Little Havana. It's a tough sell. There's a lot going on down there in South Florida.
There's a lot going on.
But the Marlins, I believe, when are you coming? Here's the question. I mean, I've been trying to have dinner with you for the last, 5 years? When are you coming? Are you going on the road with the team? Are you ever coming to Citi Field?
Well, first of all, I've told you, once you pronounce my name right, I'll let you buy the tab for dinner.
Okay. We can agree to that. Okay.
No, okay. To be honest with you, dinner, absolutely. My son now works in New York. He's an attorney. He picked a reputable business, unlike us, I think. And he works for Price Waterhouse. So he lives in the Upper West Side. So I will be coming up to visit. I have a lot of relatives. Unfortunately,
but are you coming up on the next
family picnic?
Whatever. Well, invite me because the Wiz never invites me to his barbecue, so invite me.
Can I tell you?
All right.
It's the
no, he never invites me.
Family picnic. You got it?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's my mother's maiden name, DeGeorge. So, but we haven't had it for a few years. But I am traveling on a Phillies Cubs trip coming up in a little bit. I may go over to AC for a day if you want to meet me at the Borgata and throw the dice.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite place. I love it. So yeah, let's do that. Okay. But are you covering Mets Marlins at Citi Field? You're going to be there for the next series?
No, I'm not this year. I will be covering it, but I'll be in the studio, and I'll be at the games this weekend down here. So most of the time I'm in the studio, kind of like Gary Apple, but at least I do get to some games. Like Gary sits in that cool studio there in Manhattan.
I know. Yeah, but you guys do a great job. You guys do a great job. Miami's still a big market in all standards in this industry. You do a great job, and you've been with it a long time. How many years now are you been affiliated with the Marlins broadcast?
Well, I started in 2002, but Rich, for me, I grew up in the best media market in the country, and that's New York.
Right.
So I watched Marv Albert. I was a finalist, in fact, in the Marv Albert
There he goes again.
contest and the foul. And the Knickerbockers lead by 3. And Mike Fratello wants to.
You got it on point.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, but and I listened to Bob Murphy and Lindsey Nelson and Frank Messer and watched Warner Wolf. Let's go to the videotape, pick it up right here. Boom.
Yeah.
We watched the best people in the business. And you grew up that way. And I went to Syracuse because Marv and Bob went there, and so many other people have gone. Len Berman, and of course Bruce Beck doing a great job at Channel 4. So when I went to even West Virginia, and I showed up in this little studio, I'm doing a sportscast that I thought could have played at WNBC, and they were looking at me like I was crazy because I had like 8 tapes in a 2.5-minute sportscast, and they were going nuts. They had 2 guys in the control room, and the director liked to drink. So I got used to tapes not roll at the right time. But
Talk about stories. He's got them. Not me.
Down here and took a New York type delivery maybe because that's where I'm from. And there's a lot of people from there. So we approach sports with passion and with fun, and it is fun, and also with a little bit of, you're not a homer. You're certainly representing the team, but we'll call it like we see it.
The way you look at it, it's been a great career. We got to wrap this up. Sports with Rich here.
Final one for me.
He's always got a final one. I'm teaching this young man, and he's taking over the business.
I got to ask with the NL East down to the wire, Braves, Mets, who's going to come out on top at the end?
Boy, that's a great question, and for some reason, I think the Braves are going to grab it. They keep getting close and close.
I agree.
Striking distance and don't do it. Great win for the Mets tonight, though. I mean, they stepped up tonight, and that's a win they don't get in past years.
They played like they played. Yeah, they played like they played the first 2 months of the season.
Tell you
they
what,
hit with runners in scoring position, and then when it,
Right. I love Buck. And I love the way they play. They scrap, they grind out at bats, they do the right things. They're a baseball team. They're fun to watch. They're kind of team that can get you going. Maybe they're not the '86 Mets with all the color of that team and the build up also of that unit that couldn't win for a while. I went to the game with Cubs Mets and when I was out with Syracuse, and we saw Dwight Gooden pitch and Straw had a homer in a 1-0 game on a Friday. But it took a while to get there. And if you lived in the '70s, they stunk. After 72, pretty much. So it's they're exciting. They can win it. They can definitely win it. For some reason, I think the Braves might get it. But the Mets could win it 50-50.
There we go.
There he is. That's he was Craig DeGeorge with the WWF back then. He is now. Yeah. Okay. Craig Minervi.
He still can't do it. Professional broadcaster.
Minaverni.
No, I'm not a broadcaster. I'm a writer. I'm a writer.
I had it before him.
I showed up at 3 a.m. at WFN and go on your dumb wrestling show 40 years ago on a Saturday night.
I'm going to get you for that.
That's how big he is. 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Not in the afternoon, not prime time. Saturday night, drove in at 2 a.m. to go on the air. 3. Who listens to that show?
You know what? The whole city of New York, because
you're right.
To this day, no, I know you're teasing me. To this day, they're still talking about it. I still got followers on social media that remember it.
What was the name of that show? I know you were Jody Mack. Was there a name?
No, it was JM and RM, and then
Very
Keep
clever.
It in the Ring.
Sounds like a lawn company.
Yeah, and well, Jody
$25.
McDonald, but Keep It in the Ring I just came out with it out of nowhere. I needed something to close the hour with us on his show. And I just said, Keep It in the Ring. Let it be known that Keep It in the Ring became what it is. And people still see we close shows. I do it all the time. Keep It in the Ring. And I'm going to do that to you right now.
Keep It in the Ring.
Where's pronounce his name for me, the real name, right way, please.
Craig Minervini.
All right. Two Long Island guys could get together.
40 years. I mean, what am I'm wasting my time in this business. 40 years
because
since college.
I am not a broadcaster. That's why.
Minervini.
However,
Thanks. It's great to be on the
what's
show.
so
Sure.
great, though,
Thank you. We
is how
appreciate
we
it.
could stay in touch all these years, reminisce, talk about what's going now with both of us in the business, the whole bit. And you're going to come on again. And next time you come on, as soon as the SLG network wants to keep me here,
Of course they would.
you and I, we'll have you on again. And when you're in New York, dinner's on me because I didn't get your name right, okay?
All right. Dinner's on you. That's fine.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you, Craig.
Robert,
Keep it
nice
in the
to
ring,
meet
my
you.
friend.
Nice to meet you.
Always good to see you, pal. Good to it's
All
the
right.
career thrill. We'll finally be on this network. What is it again? SLG.
There you go.
SLG Network.
Way to go, SLG.
Thank you, Craig. Keep it in the ring, my friend. Thank you. Great. Wiz, that was great.
Yeah,
I love
enjoyed
talking
it.
to
Love talking baseball, but Marlins specifically, I'll talk it all day.
I love
Pitching
talking to him
rotation,
about the
young
old days in the
stars.
WWF, but I gotta pronounce his name right. All these years, I still can't pronounce his name right. It's just some names I can't pronounce right, and it's been one of them all these years later. But to give us all this time tonight, I don't know what to say. John, come on in and give us a brief sports update. Games are wrapping up. Mets, Yankees. I know the Mets won it. And then let's take us into the final half hour. We're going to go 12:30 and tell our viewers, give our show opening to give us a little breather as well. We need the popcorn commercial. This show's not complete without hearing the popcorn commercial. And I want that. When are we going to get the popcorn? You've been promising us popcorn for weeks.
It will be done. By the way, I will say this much. I thought Craig was fantastic,
Yeah.
especially with his stories from the WWF. When you were mentioning all the names of Nikolai Volkov and all them, I was like, I know exactly who they are.
Yeah, but the Wiz doesn't because it was before his time. Anyway, I thought we'd get some more questions and comments in the cube, especially about Vince McMahon, and we got to work on that. I want people to realize how a guy like Craig DeGeorge, as I call him, was a major part of WWF with Vince McMahon. And in that era when we both worked with the legends of the past, that some are gone, some are still here.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he worked WrestleMania 3, which is, some would say, arguably is one of the greatest
I sort of
WrestleManias
forgot
of
to
all
ask him
time.
that, but I did write about that in my column today, NewYorkSportsDay.com, about one of the legacies of Vince McMahon was that WrestleMania number 3, 92,000 fans, indoor attendance record, Pontiac Silverdome. And I was there. I was there and felt that magnitude of that event. Unbelievable event that was. I'll never forget that. I was there. All right, John, update briefly with the scores. Take us to that break and show opening. We'll come back with Nobody Beats the Wiz, Fact of the Week answer, some other things, and wrap it all up tonight. Sports with Rich Mancuso, the Wiz Robert Rizzo, live on the SLG Network, YouTube, my page, Rich Mancuso. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Go ahead, John, back after this.
Thanks, guys. And of course, guys, it's a fantastic night when the New York Mets defeat the New York Yankees by the score of 6-3 over at Citi Field. They took Game 1 of the Subway Series. Game 2 will be tomorrow night. Over in Oakland right now, the Athletics are currently defeating the Astros by the score of 4-3. They're in the middle of the 7th inning right now. Over in Arizona, the Diamondbacks are currently defeating the Giants by a score of 5-3. They're also in the bottom of the 7th. The Nationals are losing to the Dodgers right now, 3-2. They're in the bottom of the 5th. The Rangers and Mariners are winning 2-1. They're in the top of the 7th. These games have gone final today. The Cubs won. The Marlins won, as we mentioned before with Craig being on. The Orioles won. The Braves won. The Blue Jays won. The Guardians won. The Padres won. The Angels won. Brewers, White Sox all won today. Guys, we're going to take a quick break right now. Get a word from our sponsor of What's Poppin' Corn Sex, some of the best popcorn out there. And then the guys will be back to wrap up, to talk about some other stuff going on in the world of sports. We'll be right back right after this.
Doing bad, they gon' love you. Doing good, they gon' hate you. Look down on your come up, but to the hustle, stay faithful. Big goals by the rate full. Drip everywhere, that's wasteful. Accent color, that's tasteful. We front and center at the tape. Got 3-5 in my blunt. 4 extra mud in my cup. Yeah, I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that. I was out of luck. Yeah, now my money up. Yeah, they feeling that. They feeling it. They feeling it. Show her in a truck. Then throw it in the guts. Yeah, she feeling that. She feeling that. She feeling that. Niggas talking tough. Yeah, till we pulling up. Now he feeling that. He feeling that. He feeling that. Save me a gold casket. My life been tragic. Good gas and blunts pass. Blow out a nigga head gaskets. Fuck boys, don't need them. Yo bitch crazy, better keep her. Yo niggas high when it's time to ride, but I bet that bitch start squeezing. Smoke sessions in the evening. Private chef and we eat it. It's a long way from voyeur to 4 years in Lamborghinis. Move different, can't see me. Only pictures ain't on TV. Tribe meetings and vibe readings. These space race like E.T. We had roaches in the kitchen. Now it's rooms in the villa. Took the cards I was dealt, flipped them. I'm the one who do the dealing. Did so much of my own, baby. I don't give a fuck about feelings. Everybody got a lot to say, but ain't nobody came with it. Fuck it, I spend it. Had it, I lent it. Trusted some niggas, now I regret it. I can forgive it, never forget it. Niggas still out there, I ain't gon' get it. Yeah, this is it, I can't slow up. Niggas muddy from the pole up. Big sauce like a cold cut. You either hoe up or you gon' blow up. Got 3-5 in my blunt. 4 extra mud in my cup. Yeah, I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that. I was out of luck. Yeah, now my money up. Yeah, they feeling that. They feeling it. They feeling it. Show her in a truck. Then throw it in the guts. Yeah, she feeling it. She feeling it. She feeling it. Niggas talking tough. Yeah, till we pulling up. Now he feeling it. He feeling it. He feeling it. Where the ghost mean power. You a star, Omari Hardwick. Seen a lot of hardships. We was taking long trips. Talking through the glass. Gotta medicate with strong hits of ganja. Gotta watch how people move around you. My brother got sittings cause of snitch. Niggas dying over bitches. Niggas lie like it's religion. If you been down, you feel me. Gotta keep applying pressure. Double up, that boy can stretch it. Good credit or no credit, they need it, go get it. Lil' baby, this is me. What you get is what you see. And you best believe we wore red. Got 3-5 in my blunt. 4 extra mud in my cup. Yeah, I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that. I was out of luck. Yeah, now my money up. Yeah, they feeling it. They feeling it. They feeling it. Show her in a truck. Then throw it in the guts. Yeah, she feeling it. She feeling it. She feeling it. Niggas talking tough. Yeah, till we pulling up. Now he feeling it. He feeling it. He feeling it.
Lock the door and keep your eyes shut. The lights flicker, there's evil all around us. No one's safe from the nightmare. Cold sweat, so scared. Someone get me out of here. Say, you better be afraid. The night's coming like fire from a hand grenade. There's no escaping tonight. It's coming alive.
Hour number 2, Sports with Rich, live on the SLG Network, YouTube. Get me on the channel, Rich Mancuso Live. We're on all social media platforms every week. We're going to stay here another 15, 20 minutes. We have a lot more to do. I always, I always say we're going to get over, but Wally Mathews and Craig DeGeorge were great. Wiz, they were great.
Great
We had
interviews.
to keep them on. And you know what? I want that popcorn. I'm hungry. Every time I see that spot on the SLG Network, I want that popcorn. I want John to get it to us. Just a dynamite 2 hours. This has been fun tonight. Reminiscing, inform. I want people to like, comment, and subscribe and join us every week here on the SLG Network, Sports with Rich. Like, comment, subscribe. We're still here. Questions, comments in the queue. And we'll get to you. Wow, come the end of the July, Wiz, but we have still one thing to do. I think it's going to be our last Nobody Beats the Wiz segment for the month of July here on Sports with Rich. Let's get that graphic
Let's get to it.
I know you love it. It's a favorite part of the show to you. I know you love it because you're the lion over there. And here we go. What I do? Yes or no? And quick, rapid thing that the Wiz gives the answer. I give him a quick question. He gives the answer. Here we go. Nobody beats the Wiz. Yes or no? The Atlanta Braves have been making this. Did they win tonight? I didn't hear the update. I apologize to John, but he's got to put more rump into those updates so I can get more excited.
The Braves won 6-3.
The Mets still have that lead then. 2 games, division lead, right?
2.5.
And tomorrow night it's going to be big for the Mets because of before we go into the first nobody beats the which question, because Mets could take that 2-game series, the first part of this Subway series that I can't stand, because Max Scherzer is pitching against Domingo Germán. And that could be a Met win and sweep of these 2 games. And the Mets need the wins more than the Yankees, as I said earlier. The Mets have to keep those Braves from continuing to overtake them. That's the question here. The first one, nobody beats the Wood, yes or no. The Braves take over first place over the Mets next week with those 5 games, including the doubleheader Saturday at Citi Field. Yes or no?
Yeah, I think they'll definitely go back and forth. I think it's a 2-game lead right now. It's going to happen. It's the ebbs and flows of the season. The Braves are one of the hottest teams in baseball since the last week of May. They
had a great June. Yeah,
it's been like 35, probably like 35-10 their last 45 games.
Yeah, so you believe that you believe the Braves will.
Yeah, I think it's going to come. I think it's going to come down to the wire last week of the season, and that's the intensity of September. That's what baseball fans love most.
And don't forget the trade deadline coming up in a week, and you don't know where this guy is going to be. Another subject. Nobody beats the Wiz, yes or no? Juan Soto. We talked about him earlier. Is he going to be a Yankee, Met, Dodger, Padre, or stay with the Nats? What do you think, yes or no?
With all the smoke, I still think he stays with the Nats until the offseason. I think this is an offseason trade. It's just a lot to handle within, 10 days of the rumors coming out of the contract negotiation. That's a lot on a general manager, a lot on a front office. I think they'll wait till the offseason, and that would be the biggest storyline in November and December.
Okay, nobody beats the Wiz, yes or no? Remember Andres Jimenez, one-time Met, went to Cleveland in the Francisco Lindor trade? Well, he's become this breakout star with the Guardians there in Cleveland and in baseball as a top infielder, and he's a pretty good, damn good hitter too. He's got power. Yeah. He always did, driving in runs. And he had play in the All-Star game, a double play with Tim Anderson behind the backflip. Remember seeing that early in the game?
That was smooth.
Does Andres Jimenez, yes or no, have the potential to be that next superstar in baseball, along with Soto, Acuna, and the others?
I think he has the potential to be. It's just very tough for second baseman overall. Most second basemen don't get the shine and the representation they should. Like, remember Dustin Pedroia, even Robinson Cano, during their heyday, you're not putting them in the top 5 of MLB players. But definitely, I think Andres Jimenez will shape up to be a top 10 second baseman in the league. Definitely a top 3 second baseman across the American League. Right now, it's Altuve, Glaber when he's healthy, and Andres Jimenez, honestly. Santiago Espinal split him amongst the 4.
He's turned out to be better than Ahmad Rosario out of the 2 that went from the Mets to the Guardians and that Lindor trade. It worked out well for the Guardians. It was a good deal overall for the Mets, getting Edwin Diaz at that time from Seattle. But, they fought BVK, Brody Van Wegenen, the former GM. But he did it was pretty damn good trade. It ended up being good for the Mets. At Lindor, and even though they lost Jimenez and Rosario, just looks like he may not be in Cleveland much longer. They're talking about getting more trade help, getting some, because they were no card hunting Indians. All right. Nobody beats the Wiz, yes or no? The Hall of Fame. We went through a long, hot day on Sunday up there in Cooperstown, New York. And as I said to you, in that extreme heat, the speeches were too long by the inductees. The fans, I don't know how they put up with that. I couldn't take it just much too long, as much as you want to hear from them. Yes or no? Are the Hall of Fame induction speeches too long? Should they be limited?
Yeah, they should definitely be limited, especially on a night like a day like Sunday. We had the rain coming, and they shortened with the video introductions. They had no videos of that. So I definitely think they should limit it to a certain amount. Like David Ortiz, he had maybe 10 to 12 minutes, which is a great range for Ortiz. It's just there's many guys that were talking for over 10 minutes. Ortiz
too
was
long.
Ortiz was like the main event, and we saw it with the Dominican Republic flags across the whole field.
And I felt that he could have even talked longer, and they told him keep it small, minimize it, because it was, to me, much too long. Nobody beats the Wiz. Here we go. Quarterbacks become the subject in the NFL as training camps open up quietly, and that will get more heat as the days go on. A lot of high-paying quarterbacks getting a lot of money. We're going to talk about that in a moment with Kyle Murray. What would be the highest money you would pay, salary, you'd give an NFL quarterback? You be the general manager here, Wiz. What would you give a quarterback, whoever it is, highest paid? What type of salary would you be the GM?
It's a very tough question. I feel like anywhere from, if at the elite caliber level, anywhere from 35 to 45, like we saw with Kyler Murray the other day. These guys deserve it, and that's like where you start your franchise. And overall, your championship winning window is before that contract comes in. Remember, like Patrick Mahomes, he won the Super Bowl before that.
So yes or no? Do you give them all that? Do you give them all that money?
You have to, but with that answer, the championship window is
17 games. You give them all that money, $350 million. I don't know.
Yeah, because
that's right.
You do the math. You do the math. That's just like $2 or $3 million a game.
Well, that's why it's called Nobody Beats the Wiz. Yes or no? And you gave the yes to it. I say no.
Yeah.
Yes or no? Here you go, Wiz. This is 2 parts for you, right?
Okay.
Do you sleep with your laptop and phone with your cat at your side every night? Rumor has it you do. Yes or no?
No. My cat just annoys me all the time, so she'd be.
Well, what about the laptop and the phone?
The phone on the nightstand, and no laptop. I listen to podcasts, SLG Network, everywhere, Apple, Spotify, Around the Ropes, Bayou Boys. Tune into all of them.
And Sports with Rich, of course.
Exactly.
Don't forget it. That's and the other part of this and I got to ask you this, because we had a long journey going up to Cooperstown. And every time I hang out with you, I enjoy it. Let's face it. I mean, there's a youth, the energy. I don't have that energy you have. I don't know where you get that energy from. You were made to be a sports journalist. And if you weren't going to be a sports journalist, to me, you resemble an Olympic swimmer because you're, young. I mean, if you weren't a sports journalist, would you have been an Olympic swimmer? Yes or no? Nobody beats the Wiz.
No, I wouldn't have been an Olympic swimmer. If I wasn't a sports journalist, I would look into the business side of things and try to own my own restaurant, specifically a diner or a pizza restaurant. Long Island Boy has his own.
Yeah. Let's not forget pizza, because that's all you do. And we're going to be together a lot the next few days, and that's all you're going to eat is pizza. Sound like Little Caesars promo. Pizza.
Oh, yeah.
And with that, we close this week's edition and final one of the month here in July on Sports with Rich. Nobody beats the Wiz till next week. All right, we're going to wrap this up and go around the horn a little bit. Some NBA talk, NFL talk. Let's look at this guy. Let's talk MLS. Let's talk about Valentin Castellanos, Tati, NYCFC. It's official. He's gone. All right, he signed a lucrative deal on loan. He's going to, I forgot the name of the team, but you could read my column on latinosports.com. The particulars about that as well. Leading scorers in the MLS, Golden Boot winner, reigning winner, a striker, the best in the league, as they say, in the MLS. And now he's taking it overseas and making a lot of money on loan. And again, the MLS worked this out. They have an Apple TV deal coming up, a lot of money. They got to keep their stars intact. But according to what I've read and understood, this is something that will continue. It's a part of the deal the MLS has with international teams all over the world. Castellanos now, he's out. It's not that he wanted to go. It was an opportunity. Everyone knows that. And now they move on. NYCFC fighting, staying first place in the Eastern Conference of the MLS. Without him, we'll see how they are as a team up in Montreal this weekend. And the thing about him was well-liked, great striker. And now the NYCFC hierarchy officials say, even the coach Nick Cushing, I asked him at that game, and he denied it, that he was leaving until it became official today. They will find the right replacement. They'll put Hebner in more, another good striker on the team. Maxi Morales is good, but they can find somebody. They have guys they can get, but I don't think they're ever going to get a Valentin Castellanos.
This is the crazy thing about sports, because if we were talking 6 months ago with NYCFC fans, and we say new coach, no Valentin Castellanos, in a matter of 6 months after winning the MLS championship, they would look at you just like with a weird look from the jump. So it's like when you put it into perspective, it's going to be a tough ride to the end. I believe last time I checked, they're in second place in the Eastern Conference standings.
Yeah, they're right there with Philadelphia, and they're right there with the Red Bulls. It's tight. It's tight,
so
but it's going to be a test now for this team.
Game by game, it comes down to adjustments and coming together with no Valentin Castellanos there. Who's going to pick up the goals? That's the main question on Twitter.
Good point. The good point.
For all the NYCFC fans out there. Big concerns.
Right, we're talking now. We go to the Kyle Murray in the NFL, and that contract that he got was a 5-year extension. That's my team, not my team. I never say the team I root for, the Cardinals in Arizona. Kyle Murray, one of the young good backs in the league. Contract extension 5 years. How much was it worth?
I believe it was 5 years, 246. 46 a year.
Yeah, but the stipulation was that he had to do homework. He's got to do 4 hours of homework. Doing what? He's got to review film 4 hours a week.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Crazy.
I didn't like that. How it was rumored out in a contract clause for that much money, because quarterbacks should be doing that anyway.
That's crazy.
Quarterbacks.
But I was speaking to the Cardinals. The Cardinals had to bring him back, and they did it with that stipulation. He's got to do homework. Did you ever do your homework on time?
Oof. In high school and middle school, in college, I stepped it up.
Yeah, you had to. You had to. Well, Kyle Murray's now, it's like going back to school. Besides trying to lead the Cardinals to an NFL Super Bowl title.
And I've been following him since Oklahoma days, and for him to be playing baseball and football at that time, and he was a dual athlete. He got drafted in both sports. On his career, 3 seasons, 70 touchdowns, 11,400 passing yards. We know the rushing weapon he is. He's along the reins of Deshaun Watson when he plays, and Lamar Jackson. So the rushing's there. It's just a matter of him staying healthy and connecting with Cliff Kingsbury and the offensive arsenal given to him.
And you saw this yesterday. Came out the Bucks. Julian Jones with the Bucks, a 7-year Pro Bowler, and he got a good deal, didn't he?
Yeah, I believe it was a 1-year deal with Tampa Buccaneers. But when you think of that team, they're stacked to begin with. They lost Antonio Brown, and you just add in Julio Jones. The biggest question mark with Julio is staying healthy. If he stays healthy, he's going to have a breakout year once again, the Julio we once knew in Atlanta.
And a quarterback is going to be the focus of a lot of teams as the NFL camps have opened up. And we'll talk more about it next week. Can't believe kickoff is like in 7 weeks. I said it on Sunday. I believe it was 7 weeks from this past Sunday. We will be watching Cowboys Buccaneers. So I'm hyped about it already. And new uniforms, crazy uniforms for almost every team. They've been really pushing that.
Yeah, the Jets have their stealth mode. The Bengals have a whiteout. I'm very excited about the Bengals whiteout. I still think the Chargers have the best uniform in the game, the powder blues. Those are fire.
I don't know. I'm so old school. Why can't they leave it the same? I can't get used to that. Before we talk NBA briefly, the XFL is ready to go. Again, with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, the new owner, bought that dirt cheap, that league. if I won the Mega Millions tonight, I didn't even check my numbers. I don't know what I would do. I don't
Last
know if
time
I
I
would.
checked, I checked this morning. What was it? 810 million.
Yeah, it was close to $1 billion, you know. But there's no New York franchise in the league that starts up in the spring. No LA franchise or Orlando or San Antonio. You got teams, they named the teams Arlington, Houston, Orlando, Las Vegas with no stadium. They don't have a stadium yet. I can't see them going to Allegiant Stadium there in Vegas, side of SummerSlam this Sunday for WWE. It's too big. XFL is not going to draw 70,000 people. Let's face it. Then it's San Antonio, Seattle, St. Louis, and DC. But there's no team in LA. There's no team in New York. And I believe that those are two major markets for the XFL. They're not going to go there at least their first year of returning under the Rock Dwayne Johnson. So, hey, look, if you like football, you're going to watch the XFL. It's not going to be Vince McMahon XFL entertainment. It's going to be real football. That's what the Rock says. So we'll see.
And
all right.
And since you brought it up with the Coliseum, I'm thinking Coliseum immediately with XFL. Nassau Coliseum used to have the Long Island Dragons, I believe, when I was younger in the indoor arena.
Well, no, that was arena football. Bobby Bonilla's explanation of playing baseball at Coors Field in Colorado. I remember I covered those games years ago.
Those were very exciting to be there.
Arena football. The ball used to bounce all over the place. All right. NBA talk about Kevin Durant, Jaylen Brown. Go ahead, talk about it. I pay much attention to it, but Durant's always in the news. What's going on?
Yeah, news broke yesterday morning. Boston and Nets were in a talk with for Kevin Durant going to Boston for Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and a draft pick. But Brooklyn said no, they wanted Marcus Smart along with additional draft picks. And it makes sense if you're Brooklyn because at the end of the day, you're not just trading a star like Kevin Durant. You're trading Kevin Durant along with 2.5 years of Kevin Durant. So you're not just trading one superstar, these GMs, these front offices. It's going to take them a while to figure this out. And at the end of the day,
what's that comment? What's a comment in the cube there about Wade Phillips? What is the bio? The Bio City boys who have a show on this network, SLG network.
Wade Phillips.
They follow
Wade Phillips is
they love this show. They're always watching and commenting, and I love it. They get great comments. What does he say here?
Wade Phillips is for Houston. He's the Houston head coach for the XFL.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's a big one major name going in the XFL coast in the Houston team. But again, where does Kevin Durant stand right now? Real brief.
Overall, he stands still a Brooklyn Net, obviously. They're still taking trade calls day by day. But like I was saying before, the front offices, general managers, it's going to take them a long time to figure this trade package out because it's similar to Juan Soto in the other sport. You're getting 2.5 years of a superstar that can win you a championship right then and there. And my guess is he stays with Brooklyn. They figure it out because at the end of the day, KD says it. I just want to hoop.
Right.
He's not going to pull a Ben Simmons, his new teammate, and say, "Yeah, I'll sit courtside." It's not
the
NBA
like will continually be in the news. Their new season is still months away now. Anti-exemption Congress in baseball. The deadline was extended next week. It's a lot to do again about finances and money. I don't know why Congress got to get involved. Major League Baseball is always under the gun again here. Anti-exemption. We'll go more into that next week. We got to wrap this baby up. We've been on for 2.5 hours. I know John is just so busy working behind the scenes and the whole crew at the SLG network. John, come on in and let's try and get the fact of the week answer, you and the Wiz and anyone else in the cube because the Aaron Judge bobblehead is still here. All right. The question again was the fact of the week, not trivia, fact. Baseball diversity, saw it in the All-Star game last week, 75%. A lot of Latinos from different Latin American nations represented. There was a year in baseball, and the year and the team again, where all 9 players in the lineup were Black or Latino descent. And the fact we want to know is the year and the team it was. Both of you had an answer. You both were wrong. Both of you had plenty of time maybe now in between all what we've done tonight, the last 2.5 hours, to maybe research the answer. No one seems to have gotten on the cube with us on the show. I know the answer because I'm the one that comes up with these weird and crazy facts of the week. I'll give you guys one more shot at it. And if you win, of course, if you get it, you're not getting the Aaron Judge bobblehead. John, let's get you first.
I'm going to say the 07. I'm going to go 07 Yankees.
No, not even close. All right, where's your final turn?
2011. 2011.
Forget it. What? Why not? No. You know, we've been on the air now, what, 2 months with the show? John, how many weeks? John, how many weeks? About 2 months, right?
Yeah.
And it's 2 months of Fact of the Week. No one has got an answer on Fact of the Week. As weird as they might be, they're true facts. So here's your answer. The last time and only time a team had all 9 players in their lineup. Remember, no DH when I'm coming up with this. Black or Latino descent. All 9 players. The year 1971. The team, and you got to remember, great team back then. They were a World Series team in 1971. They won it all. The Pittsburgh Pirates. Remember? We Are Family. Willie Stargell and Company. Remember?
Yeah.
That's your answer. Go back, look at the lineup, and you'll see all Latino or Black descent, all their players in the lineup that year that won the World Series championship in 1971. I mean, it wasn't always like that for 162 games, but more than once they had nine of Latin or Black players in the lineup at the same time. So that's the fact of the week. And again, no one gets it. But that's part of sports research. All right, John. Mets won tonight. Big win over the Yankees. Braves won. I got to look at the scoreboard and see what everyone else did. But thanks again, John, for putting up with a long time with us and giving us all the handling the controls and giving us all this time and working great with us again, John. But one thing next week, please, John. It's Around the Ropes is your show.
Yes.
Right? On the SLG network. When is it on again?
Tuesdays and Saturdays starting at 8 p.m.
Okay, we'll be watching as always and keeping track of SummerSlam Sunday, Saturday night, which I'll be watching at ringside when I'm covering Danny Garcia, so I have an interest in SummerSlam on the Peacock Network. All right, John, thanks. We'll talk to you next week. We're going to wrap it up in a sec. Keep it in the ring, my friend. Always a great job. Wiz, that about did it. We've done a lot tonight, and I want to thank Wally Mathews again and Craig DeGeorge, a.k.a. real name Craig.
Minervini.
Now you don't know it. All
I
right.
know. The more I say it, the more I mess it up.
Yeah. And I tell you one thing. Again, I love just being around you, working with you. You've learned so much in 5-6 months you've been around me. It's been great. Also, though, that I just hanging around you so much. Sometimes I don't know where you get the energy. I don't have that energy. I mean, you're on a bus ride coming back from Cooperstown. I'm trying to sleep with Julio Pobon blasting the Latino music and speaking in Spanish the whole time back to New York from Cooperstown, 4-hour ride, traffic, rain, the whole bit. And you're over there on the laptop just like nothing's wrong. I'm telling you. Just banging away, doing the work. And been very much part of this boxing show we're involved in again with Abella Boxing Promotions. And again, the weigh-in will be live Thursday at 2 p.m., 3 p.m. On the SLG Network, Abella Boxing Promotions, Bergen County Fight Night. One more thing I want you to do, Don. Oh, he put it up. I didn't have to remind him. There you go. Good job, Big John. And Julian Rodriguez, Hammer Hands, returns to the ring after a year. Michael Lee will be on, and it's a great card of boxing. Tickets still available, and the SLG Network will have live coverage. I'll be there Thursday for the weigh-in, and BXN TV will be doing the live broadcast. Minimal, I think it's close to $20 for pay-per-view. You'll see 11 good fights. I'm at ringside with Anthony Johnson of ABC Channel 7, calling the fights, and former pro fighter Richard Pearson from New Jersey. Bergen County Fight Night, Friday night, Great American Dream, East Rutherford, New Jersey. Come on out or watch us live on pay-per-view. Wiz, that's it. I'm wrapping it up. I got to go to bed. Got to take my Geritol and go to bed.
I'll stay up and watch the West Coast if there's any games going on.
I know you will. I will.
All
right, I could be reached.
The energy is just starting.
Never go away.
I want to thank Wally Mathews, Craig for coming on, Scott Abella for running this whole promotion company. Hell of an opportunity. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, John. Thank you, Calvin. Thank you, Nick, all behind the scenes. And follow me on Twitter, RobertRiz994. Follow me on Instagram, rrizzo4. Follow me on Facebook, Robert Rizzo. Latino Sports, all my content daily. So see you there.
And I want to thank your mom and dad for I really do, because they've got a great young man, great son, and you're like La Familia, as I always say. Okay, the love fest is going on. It continues with me and you. Ring786 at Twitter is my handle. Facebook.com, Rich Mancuso, Mancuso786 at Instagram. And I'm always at, you can read my content, still up today. The big thing about the perspective of Vince McMahon on NewYorkSportsDay.com and LatinoSports.com. I have the content up, the perspective about Valentin Tati Castellanos out leaving and going on to better breeding the pastures for himself at NYCFC and the MLS. This week, we got boxing, and I'll be at Citi Field tomorrow night, Game 2 of that Subway Series, Mets and Yanks. I'd rather you go, not me, Wiz, because I hate that series. I can't stand it. I want it to rain. I love rain.
Before we go, and since you're going to be there, you got to do a prediction with Scherzer and Herman on the mound. Who's taking the W in Game 2?
I think Mets win it tomorrow night. I don't – German in his first outing back last was not Domingo Herman. He needs more time to get back and see. The Yankees definitely need him. Scherzer win, Mets win unless they don't hit for him. And Jacob deGrom. We're getting ready for deGrom's comeback. Jacob deGrom back on the mound. It's just a matter of days, Mets fans. Continue to be patient. And on that note, thank you again, everyone, for your love and support each and every week here. Sports with Rich live on the SLG Network. Sports with Rich, also Rich Mancuso on my YouTube channel. Please like, comment, and subscribe. We'll be back with you next week, as always, 10 p.m. Eastern live, and we'll see what we got. More NFL talk next week and baseball, as always. Till next week, everyone, unless you have something else to say, Wiz, I'm going to bed.
Keep it in the ring.
Keep it in the ring, everyone. God bless. Be good to everyone and yourselves, and have a good week. Till next week, keep it in the ring, everyone. Thank you.